Forget about the way that Tony Soprano makes his way in the world. That's just to feed his children. There's two Tony Sopranos. You've never seen the other one. That's the one I want to show to you.
You know what Anthony Jr. just said? Mr. Miller's car got stolen. Maybe you could help find it.
What are you getting in science?
D+.
Bravo.
Yeah, I'm Starsky, and this is Hutch.
Are you in the mafia?
Am I in the what?
Tony, I'm sorry.
For all these years, I've been shielding her and protecting her from certain truths. Hello?
Tony, I love you.
You got the wrong fucking number. You're not the first guy to get busted out. This is how a guy like me makes a living. This is my bread and butter. It's business. We're soldiers. We follow codes. Honor.
Please, Tony.
And family. I know what you did.
Sir, please.
The only son. And loyalty. And those other fucks, those other J.P. Morgans, they were crooks and killers too. But that was the business, right? The American way.
Well, hello, everyone. That was an awesome intro. Justin put that together. Thanks so much, Justin. It's not going to just be about costumes, so we're talking about all kinds of things. So welcome to costumeco, everyone. And I got an amazing panel today. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Life's gotten a little bit busy. But to start off with, Justin actually put this together. So thank you so much, Justin, from Top Shelf Edits is here. As well, we have Becky Walnuts, or Shadowcat Becks, in the house tonight. And of course, we have the DON Tony Teflon. Tony, I haven't had a chance to talk to you yet. He's got this awesome like drum kit behind him. I think it's a virtual background. It's not real. So don't get too excited, everybody. So before we start, why don't we just go around and say hello to everybody and have everyone just say a quick hello. So Justin, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I'm adding a few things right here, but yeah, I'm really excited to talk about The Sopranos, something I've been begging Heidi to do. I know it's a little bit more fashion forward, but I think that like this is a perfect panel for it, and I think it's a really interesting show. I think that this story is driven by these people worried so much about how people perceive them, and fashion is overtly brought up so many times in this series. Like, I dress nice when I come to the therapist. Adon doesn't wear shorts. Like, all of these things, people, just like anything, trying to dress it, just to be what you want to be. But I think it really is an interesting show about culture and style, and it did, launch like a new rise in Goomba, dress, Jersey Shore and all that, and Mob Wives and all that from it. So it's a cultural event on many levels, and it's also credited with being the first, very, very successful long form storytelling anti-hero show. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. beat them to it, but this had more eyes on it. So happy to be here and happy to have these guests.
Yeah, thanks so much for arranging this, Justin. And Justin, he was able to get the Dawn. He always, what's the expression about, you try to get out, but you always get pulled back in.
I get pulled back.
Yeah.
I don't try to get out.
So Tony, I didn't scare you off too much last time.
No,
I
apologize. I wasn't able to do the House of the Dragon.
No, that's fine.
And everything else. I would have really loved to do it, but in all honesty, this House of the Dragon just wasn't. I didn't want to come on there and just say bad stuff about it. So
okay. Oh no, that's totally cool. Know what? I didn't feel that way at all. I'm very happy you're here. It's always lovely to see you.
Well, it's lovely to see you all, and thank you for having me. I would say, I agree with some of the things that Justin is saying about the show. I don't look at them as people who dressed up. I think that when you deal with people who live in the mafia or that they're portrayed, that they're regular people. And I think that's what they tried to put forth in this show. Though they do certain things to make money, which people would consider illegal, they're just regular guys who are willing to do these things. So, you're always supposed to dress the part and stuff, So if you're a businessman, and a lot of mafia people see themselves as businessmen, then they're going to dress like businessmen. So I think that's the reason why you see them in suits and things like that but then when they're on the street, they're in the typical Italian garb, and that's just the way Italian people dress. But more in New York, and I think it spread over to New Jersey, but more in New York, when you had the gold gym shirts or the Cavaricci pants that I remember seeing all the Italian men rocking when I was younger and stuff. That was just the way it was. The big hair, the Aquanet hairspray, and everything else and all that. That was just the way of life it was for them back then. So I think that it's more what they were trying to portray in the show. I think was these are some regular guys, and regular guys can do bad things, and that's what it is. There's different types of people. They're not they're not psychopaths. There's regular dudes who are willing to do psychopathic things to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tony. Well, we're going to get more into the story and everything and the characters. But before we do, we're going to, Rebecca, do you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello. Thank you for having me. When I saw that you all were doing this panel, I immediately sent Heidi a message. I do not know how many times I've watched The Sopranos. It's kind of a lot.
That's okay.
Definitely one of my all-time top 3 shows for sure. And
wow, very high praise.
And I actually did a rewatch whenever they were kind of promoting the anniversary of it, because this is the 25th anniversary this year. It was on my Splash page, so it was why not do my annual rewatch of The Sopranos now? So
okay, but what's better, Sopranos or Twin Peaks?
Without Twin Peaks, there'd be no Sopranos.
Okay,
so,
there you go. Okay,
my 3 shows in no particular order are Sopranos, Twin Peaks, and Homicide.
Oh, okay.
Well, those 2 of them I can't agree with, but the one in The Sopranos I do agree with. I don't see Homicide being in the top 3 shows.
Well,
it's her top 3 shows.
I know. I'm just saying, me personally. That's all.
Yeah.
I just don't see it being in the top 3 shows. I think that, what The Sopranos did was, before The Sopranos, you had, those shows. You had Law and Order. You had these other shows. But the realism that they brought in by being on HBO at the time made, when I would watch other shows like I used to watch back then, Law and Order and stuff, it made them seem so fake to me. And the realism that they brought in with The Sopranos. Now, obviously, you had stuff building up to The Sopranos, right? But Sopranos, the one that really pushed it over the edge and made that so realistic, and that you couldn't even watch these other network TV shows, because that in certain situations, people wouldn't act like that. They wouldn't say the things that they say, and they were able to say these things on HBO. And I think that's what pushes The Sopranos there. And now, if you're asking me my top 3 shows, and he didn't, but I'll put it in there. I would say number 1 show was The Wire. Number 2 show would be it's a toss up between The Sopranos and Breaking Bad. I can make cases for both of those shows. And number 3 in mine, which a lot of people will not agree with, but to me it is number 3, and that's Rome. I think Rome's the 3rd best show.
Okay, interesting.
I did want to touch on something Tony said, because believe it or not, I agree with you on it. What I mean, I was trying to say, dress for how your success and dress like that. And there's so many. Right here is something to prove Tony's right about what he's saying about what they were trying to depict. They were trying to depict. I'm putting this up right now. Sorry. Reality. They were trying to depict reality, like Tony was saying. I was not saying that they're dressing like something they're not. I was saying that they're very conscious of how they dress, and they dress differently for different situations. And you see a lot of that. Dress differently when he goes to the therapist. He literally says it. Dresses differently at home, dresses differently when he's on the street, dresses differently when he's eating with New York. This is, just the way that it was. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing phony about that. Everybody does that. So when we have this right here, the costume designer actually talks about how they opt for just real. Here we go. The source outfits for the show Polska opted for a more true to life approach, like Tony said, rather than going straight to designers for items, or her terms, method shopping. The Sopranos creator David Chase wanted to present characters as real as possible. So you're dead on, Tony. I definitely agree with you. I think that we're dealing with people trying to fit into different sides of society, polite society. We see this. I've got some clips with Tony, and I agree that this is the first character on television to hurt people without any reason, you know what I mean? Like any like civilized reason, right? And still have empathy for them. This is your first true on a grand stage. Vic Mackey was first, but this is a bigger stage. Anti-hero. And The Sopranos showcases real people better than any series during its time, and really still to its time. It still holds up. There's characters that are just nobody's perfect in this series, and I think that they definitely were not afraid to go there, and I think that it pays off. And we see a lot of different types of society, and we see a lot of different excuses for the things we do, both in polite society and those people like Tony are talking about. I know these people. These are people that are just willing to go beyond the law, and it doesn't make them bad or good. They're just willing to do that, and they are going to live a different lifestyle because they're willing to cross that line, and that's something that yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Becks.
I guess like one thing, just and this might be kind of deeper analysis at this point, but these are also people, and very specifically with the cast of characters, and not so much like real life counterparts, but these, I mean, Tony is a sociopath. Yeah. Like these people are sociopaths, and like they're on the fringes of society, and because like chances are like they didn't find their footing in society. I mean, like in Tony's case, he was kind of brought into it because of his father and his uncle, yada yada yada. But these are, I'm just pushing back against like, they're not just people who like can go beyond the law. Like they live on the fringes of society. Yeah. Yet they're also like trying, in Tony specifically, trying to fit in to this upper middle class lifestyle, especially at the beginning, like trying to make friends with the neighbors and trying to exist in like two different worlds.
We've got a great clip of that coming up too.
What I would say about that is this. So when I grew up in the 90s, obviously in Queens, New York, I've seen a lot of things, and I used to see a lot of people who became drug dealers. And I knew people who were in mafia and working their way up. And I was friends with these people growing up. I've seen them I grew up with them in elementary school. I've seen them progress, and then I see them later on, and now they're working for these people. So I would say that when you get put in situations, I don't say he's not psychopathic. I think the behavior is, but the person himself, I think he's just willing to do psychopathic things in order to advance himself. Like I used to say all the time, like you could walk outside around my way and get robbed by somebody dressed better than you. And I used to say that all the time, because even though these dudes was robbing people, they was dipped, they had stuff, they looked great. You could have less, and these dudes will still come and rob you, and they look better than you. Like, yo, dude, you look better than me, and you robbing me? How is that possible? You would think that it's going to be someone who has less than you that's robbing you, right? But a lot of times it's what you're put in front of. Like I know a lot of guys who dealt a lot of drugs, whether it's crack or whatever that they dealt, and they were really nice guys. But once you get inside of the game, now the game changes you. Now you have to do certain things to survive in this game that you normally wouldn't do. And people would hear things about like, oh, this person would never do that. But in order to survive, you get put. So I'll put it a situation. I have this dude named Buddy, who was my man. Best guy you ever meet in your life, right? Buddy was in the game. He got chased up into a building. These dudes were shooting at him. Buddy ran up to the roof. He tried to get away. There was no escape. He wound up shooting and killing 2 people. Went to jail for it and stuff. Buddy's the greatest guy I've ever met. He's out now. He's one of the greatest guys. I would have him around my kids. I would have him around anyone. I trust Buddy with everything. He was put in a situation where it was his life or their life or them, and he took their life. And so he had no choice in that situation. Now, so I would say, people may say he's a murderer. He's a bad person. But when you put yourself in the game, he put himself in the game to be in that position. Well, so if you never put
let's talk about how Tony justifies what he does, Tony. When we're
guys,
talking about this,
before we go on to the discuss the Sopranos, I just want to say hi to a few people. Is that okay? I just want to say hi to Nat. People are coming in, so I want to say hi to Natural. I want to say hello to 30 Days, and Jackie just got here.
Hi, Jackie.
And the other one thing I wanted to say, and this is just a little plug for myself, because we were talking about the Sopranos, And Justin and I were talking earlier about the new show, The Penguin, which, has a lot of parallels. If anybody's watching it, Tony, I think you would love it. And I'm not sure if you're into
I haven't
comics,
had
but
a chance. I've been busy, but I
yeah.
haven't been to watch it.
So, but I wanted you to say that I am going to be interviewing the costume designer for The Penguin. So I just thought that would be, because there's been a lot of comparisons.
Yes.
Tony mentioned The Sopranos, but also there's been some comparisons to Breaking Bad as well. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, and then you guys go ahead again.
Really quick, I want to talk about the justifications that Tony specifically uses, because I agree with Tony on this front. I knew these people growing up as well. I worked with these people. Now, Tony necessarily, I would make the argument, he does not need to do what he does, and the reason he kills is for this sense of pride and sense of this cultism that he has with the mafia. But Tony has two different explanations for why he does what he does. He argues that the average businessman in America is a thief. I put that in the intro. That's one of his explanations. And then when it gets down to the real hard stuff, like you're talking about, Tony, the way Tony explains that is he's a soldier. Mm-hmm. He's a soldier, and soldiers, they know what they're part of. So that's kind of what you're speaking to. If you're part of the game, you accept the game, and I can respect that. I think that what The Sopranos looks at is something that's a little beyond that. We know that people in bad circumstances are more likely to do what they need to do. Tony is somebody that did not need to absolutely get into this lifestyle. Once we've seen his upbringing in the show, I'm not saying that he's a horrible person. These are realistic people. Everybody justifies what they do. He justifies himself by everybody's a crook. Why shouldn't I be a crook? And he justifies himself by he's a soldier that's agreed to a certain terms of life, a certain terms of battle with everybody else. So the people that he fights are signing the same contract. I will bring up one small thing that I noticed on my rewatch. The only two people in this series that don't get killed are the two people that should get killed: the pedophile and the one that sexually assaults Dr. Milfy, right? That I think the show does this specifically, and this is just my thesis, and we can go back and forth on this, and I want to hear Rebecca's thoughts. But this is what the show, I believe, is telling me. The show wants us to hold up to what we think, because we think it's not right in a lot of places. Or I think in some cases, what Tony's doing, there is no excuse in this circumstance for what he's doing. I understand how he's doing it, but then they want to put my ass to the test, and they want to say, when this sexual assault happens, I want this guy dead. I want this pedophile dead, and I do. And should we have Tony go do it? Can Tony be, because that proves Tony right. Proves Tony right there, that we need people like Tony, and that Tony's right is justified. So I think they pose that very particular, specific question to us for a reason, and it's to check our own morality and to check our own, what do you call it, hypocrisy.
I would say that saying that he didn't have a choice to be in this is I don't believe it. He had no choice. Saying he had a choice not to be in, I don't believe it. He had no choice. When you grow up a certain way and you're around a certain group of people, like people will say, you put your footsteps in the feet of your brother, your older brother. If your older brother is a drug dealer and your older brother is a tough guy in the block, or even if you just take small town America and you say your other brother's a barroom brawler, when people see you, they see him. So it's very tempting, and people expect you to live up to that expectation. And when you have two generations deep into the mafia, and this is what was expected of him. This is what was going to be him. And this is what his children are going to fall into, because this is what they know. This is the family business. No different than someone who's a singer or someone who's a baseball player or someone who's a lawyer. When you see your family do it, you follow step, and that's what it is. So I don't believe he had a chance not to do it. This is the fact of the way he was raised. He had no choice. He was going to be in the mafia no matter what, because his father and his grandfather already made their bones in it. This was the life he knew, and this is what he was going to do.
I'll let Rebecca go, but I'm just going to say I fundamentally disagree with seeing Many Saints in New York. He had choices. I think that Meadow is going to be a doctor. They want her to be one just so they can justify what they do. It was very clear that Tony's dad didn't even know what he was going to, lawyer, something professional, so they can justify this. It's very clear in Many Saints in New York that his dad doesn't even, he's like, I don't want to be a part of this. He's like, part of what? His dad doesn't even look at it like that. Like, yeah, he is more susceptible to it. But to say Tony literally had no chance, he grew up in the suburbs, man. He grew up out of it. His parents took him out of it. He had a choice. There is agency in life. But I totally agree with the sentiment of it's hard to escape this lifestyle, not to demonize things. But at the same, I'm just going to fundamentally disagree with you. I love you, brother. But Tony Soprano did not need to be Tony Soprano. That's my take on it.
I think there was no way out for him. I think he had no choice.
I agree. It's likely. I agree. It is likely.
That's what it was. If he was someone whose family had never been in the mafia, had never did that, he was living in the suburbs, he met some people and then got in, that's completely different. But when your father and your grandfather are in it and you know they're in it and this is how they make their this is the family business, you usually follow suit and go into the family business. That's just the way it is. Now, as for Meadow, girls are different when the mafia. You know, there are no female bosses. There are no things like that. So she's not going to have those things. They don't expect her to be in that. But the sons, they do expect.
Do you think he wants AJ to be in it? Because I think
I don't, whatever he thinks or he says he doesn't mean that's not what AJ's going to.
Yeah, you see the allure to it. Now, I'm not saying that Tony wasn't obviously like very much so like set on this path, Tony. I'm just disagreeing fundamentally on he had to go down it. That's where I'm drawing the line. I think that's fair.
Why don't we, Rebecca? Why don't you? I'm going to let my girls say something.
What should have Tony done?
Well, I mean, I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, you know, Tony did have opportunities. They just, to get out, he spent that semester and a half at Seton Hall. He was, you know, a varsity athlete, but he was also like in the neighborhood. He was friends with Pussy and Syl and other people who were, you know, they were all running around. The whole show is about the dichotomy of like these two different worlds. And Meadow, I think, is like the most prime example of like, well, how's this going to go? Because Meadow was going fully on the trajectory of getting out, whether or not she was going to be a doctor, whether or not she was going to be a lawyer working at the law center. But then she ends up just marrying one of, you know, Tony's underling sons. She's going to go into like corporate law, and she's, you know, I don't think she's going to join the mafia per se. I think she's going to be a mob lawyer. And like even like at points her talking about like them being persecuted. But I mean, I think that it's, I don't know.
That's a fallback argument that Tony goes to all the time. Yeah.
Right. Well, and like the mother and like, you know, everyone in the family.
And you also got to look at the time period, right? The time period of the age of James Gandolfini, the ages of his parents, and the time that the mafia was back then compared to when Meadow and them were young and got into the mafia. Back then, there wasn't that many cameras. Back then, it wasn't all that high stake. It was more, you know, behind the scenes of what was going on. And then they show how when Tony was started, all the media attention started to come to the grip. So then it's a different mafia then. It's a John Gotti style mafia, not the Carlos Gambino mafia, you know, of that. So it's a whole different type of game that AJ and them and they would get into, you know, when John Gotti and them got in there, he made it public. He was happy. He flaunted it. You're not supposed to do that. No one's supposed to know you're a mafia boss. No one's supposed to know there is a mafia. No one's supposed to know anything about it. It's all supposed to be secretive, and that's what it is. But, you know, Tony came into that, you know, John Gotti phase, and people knew who he was, and the neighbors knew who he was, and everything else, and it got a little bit too public for him and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Gotti era is far gone, even for Tony. This is the new age mafia. Like, I worked at a strip club that was connected. The owners were connected. Everybody that I worked with in Detroit in the clubs were connected, and there is a very much so a mafia presence in Detroit. I worked with it. It's very much so there. It's very much so nothing like it was even in the 70s. And there's this romanticized. What I want to be very clear on this live stream is my take on this is not to shame people or say that people are not, that are not conditioned, because there's conditioning that happens, and you are, you know, where you grew up matters and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is, a show that David Chase wrote, I don't think he would agree with Tony, the message being Tony had no choice, that Tony was set on this. He is showing us for this whole show, Tony and Carmela and everybody there has every damn choice. This is the point of the show. This is the point of the therapy. This is why Tony is who he is. Many Saints of New York wasn't a great movie, but it shows us even more that he is disconnected from this. I get what you're saying, Tony, like on a fundamental level. And if you're talking about percentages, I'm not saying that like, oh my God, we should just like expect people to rise above it. No, but I think that the point of this damn show is to show the fault in everybody's ways, the fault in these doctors' ways, the fault in Tony's way. This is not to glamorize anything. And David Chase wrote this show about a mother that was overwhelming, and he was going to be a freaking ad agent at first, like a madman. You know what I mean? Like that's how the show is going to be. Tony is, we shouldn't look at him as a product of his environment. We should look at him as, yes, something that came from his environment, but somebody that definitely had agency, and he is just at every turn. And Carmela is doing the same thing. They're making excuses for themselves. Carmela's talking to the priest. He's talking to the therapist. He's a soldier. Everybody is a crook. Why shouldn't you be? And I think that's why they set up these fundamentals. This is supposed to be a series that makes us have these great conversations. And I do have that clip of the golfing when we see him with polite society and how he feels.
Yeah, of course. But I think that in the end, he is a product of his environment.
Yeah.
Everybody is a product of the environment. And when you're out there, right, you have choices to make. Everyone has free will, right? But if your brother is a drug dealer, your father was a drug dealer, your grandfather was a drug dealer, there's a great chance, and your friends that you're hanging around are drug dealers, you're going to be a drug dealer. This is what it is. So did he have a chance? People always, because let's say it like this, there'll be a lot of rich kids. I know a lot of people live in upstate New York, rich and families own businesses. They go off to college for a couple of years. They fuck around in college. They don't make it. Then they go right back to the family business. And they say, oh, I could fuck around. I could do it because I know I got this to fall back on. So when you see Tony go to college and, go out there and everything and does his thing out there, he knows what he has to fall back. So once the tough times get tough in college, fuck this. This is not for me. I'm going back to what the fucking I know, and I'm just gonna go deal with this. And that's what usually happens. So if you have people, and I look at the mafia, they're no more than any gang in the world. They're the same thing, whether it's the Crips, the Bloods, or whatever. It's no different, just a little bit more organized. And because they're white people, they want to give them a good fancy name and prick your finger and do all this blood stuff. They're just regular gangs. They're just organized gangs. They're all gang members. And when you hang around gang members, eventually you look up to these guys and you see that these are the guys with the big cars when you're little. These are the guys that got all the girls. They got the fancy clothes. This is what you aspire to if you see that in your neighborhood. Now, if you see a bunch of doctors and the doctors had these things, then you would aspire to that. But that's not what he's seen. He's seen his father. He's seen his grandfather. He's seen all of his friends. He's seen they got the girls. They got the women. They got the money. They got the jewels. And this is how they made it. And this is what he's going to do. And that's how people fall into it. And that's just what it is for anybody in any business. And this was his family business. That was it. The mafia is his family business, and he went to it. And I just think that anybody would fall into that. So if that was David Chase's thing, saying he had chances at go, everyone has chances at go and stuff like that. And yes, he was raised in this and he was raised in that, but when you're around that all the time, it doesn't matter about those things. Eventually, it's going to creep in.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mean to be combative, and I think we should move past this point because I think that we can agree to disagree on if the show is depicting Tony as having no choices. My last point on that is we see plenty of kids that are in college that have all this privilege from their dads that continue, like Jackie Jr. in this show, that goes back to try to live this mafioso, the reverse of what you're talking about. We're talking about these kids that have all this privilege and they see the glitz and glamour. I'm not saying it's not appealing, and I'm not saying it's something that they want to go to, but I say that we need to move on to whether Tony had to or not is a moot point. I think the show is showcasing options, and that's what makes it interesting. But also, yeah, you're right that Tony, at the end of the day, didn't do well in college. He wasn't all that bright. He understands the theory of therapy and blah, blah, blah. And he's a guy that's willing to do what his uncle did. His dad, I don't believe, was conditioning him, but that's a moot point. I think I said we move on from here and we look at what Tony does and the crew around him and how they connect and how they, how they present themselves and where we go from here, because we see plenty of people, and let's play the clip really quick with Chris who gets made in this neighborhood, because I feel that Gotti's times we talk about that in the golf scene, those are far past. Like at this time, let's look at Chris after he gets made. And I want to know, Tony and Rebecca and everybody, if you think this is an accurate depiction of mafia life in the early 2000s, because I've seen it and I absolutely think it is. It's not I'm not saying it's not appealing. I'm just saying that it's fallen far from Lucky. Okay, in Meyer, it's fallen very far. So let's go to this really quick. Give me a minute here. I apologize. And again, I'm not trying to be combative here.
You're not being combative. We're just having a discussion.
Jackie says, no, it's a great discussion, and it is.
Better
I
be.
was going to just also add, Justin, I feel like there is that nature nurture sort of question there with Tony and just everything, right? Like, are you a product of your environment? Are you born that way? Like my mom used to say, no one's born evil. So I'm personally enjoying this discussion.
Okay, so yeah, thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this up right now. So this is some clips. I've copyright checked them. I'm going to put them up. So this is Made Man right here. This is Chris after he gets his butt in. It's important, and maybe Tony and Rebecca can speak on this. At this time, the books, they say, aren't being opened because I know for sure in Detroit, not a lot of people were being made. Not a lot of people even in Detroit were made when I was growing up. Detroit had the Purple Gang back in the heyday, and it fallen far from it. There's pretty much just the Tocco family, and there's actually a lot of like Greek activity. That's besides the point. That's what I've experienced. Made men are not, and this is something that's depicted in this, that they're not doing that as much because this is somewhat of a fallen group. It's somewhat of a fallen legacy. They are a shadow what they once were. So this is Chris one day after he gets made, and I find this to be such a relatable clip. I said before the stream, before you're here, Tony, when I first watched The Sopranos, I'm Italian. My last name's Santini. I didn't think it was realistic. I thought because all I had was Scorsese to go off of. And then once I started working as a DJ in these strip clubs, and these clubs in downtown Detroit with these connected guys that just, I mean, I have a bad opinion of them. You know what I mean? I thought this is the most realistic depiction. I swayed my opinion completely. And these guys are no jokes either. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that, this is a very real sense of, connected people. In my opinion, this is Chris one day after being made. This is, after he bleeds on the Seine and everything. But
Jesus Christ.
I do want to touch on really quick, just so the costuming, Heidi, do we see the suit? And then we see the tracksuit. Chris, who's been made. Benny, who is just like, Benny would be what? Just a soldier? Not even, right, Tony? Just
at this time. I mean, the whole thing with the windbreakers was there was a brand called Sergio Tacchini, which was an Italian brand that was really popular in New York and stuff. So they would just really wore them for comfortability. They were comfortable, and they wore them because it was an Italian designer that made them, and that's why they like to rock, represent them being Italian.
That's why we bring on the Don right there. I said he's gonna know everything about the fashion. So
let me come around. How you doing, Roy?
The pizza man comes around to the counter to give his respect. This is real, though. This is very real. It seems silly, but it's also something special. Yeah, but it's great, right?
Congratulations. Hector, large whole blue ice for this gentleman. Soft drinks of choice.
Soft drinks of choice, gentlemen.
Look.
2 college boys. His dad used to be a boss. He's fallen out. His dad is dead. So these people are jealous of this man that just got his budding because they're not opening up the books and so forth. So this is what I relate to. I relate to this petty neighborhood behavior right here.
Take away Tony Soprano. He's a zero with shoes.
Yeah, but he's wearing a stripe now.
My Uncle Richie was gonna...
Yeah, but he never did. Chris, I promise.
You know.
Hey, Benny.
Congratulations.
When'd you get out, Benny?
DA tossed it. The witness bailed.
So, Jackie, how's Rutgers?
Fuck that. I'm dropping out.
Come on, bula bula.
We're just talking about our former alma mater. They got the coffee house. It's a pure cash operation. And the beauty part is, I mean, who's gonna stop you? Kids?
So last thing on this, I take this as Tony agree. He's offering this up because he's a made man. Now he's offering it out of respect to give Chris a cut. And he's trying to play by the rules.
No, I think he's trying to kiss his ass. I don't think he's giving it offering out of respect. I think it's more he's trying to kiss his ass, and he's just wants to get in, and he's trying to make himself look valuable.
That's what I'm saying by giving him the cut. Like trying to like get him in on it, like blah blah blah. So anyways, they end up having a brawl in this pizza place. I don't want to get a copyright and so forth. I want to get everybody's opinions on how realistic is this, because again, these are two college students that are doing everything they can to try to stay connected when it's absolutely the last thing from them. But then you have a real person in Chris that came up and didn't really have a choice, probably more than even Tony. Not to get back in that argument, but definitely Chris is even a shadier, muddier area to go into. And how do we feel about this depiction? Because this sums up the show a lot for me. That they get made, and the next day he's in the pizza parlor getting soft drinks of choice. I find that to be hilarious and realistic at the same time.
No, I think it's what I said earlier, right? When you go to college and it gets tough, you know that you could fall back on the family business. And that's exactly what happened to these college kids. They went up in there. It wasn't what they wanted it to be. So now they're going to come back and do what the family business is. And that go right back to the mafia. As for, and he's a little, it's like say around my way, right? And like, I knew this one guy named Christian. Everyone knew Christian was a punk. Christian was a little punk. He was this, he was that. You could smack Christian around. Mm-hmm. But then he started working for this one drug dealer out there who was a real big drug dealer. All of a sudden, as soon as he started working for that guy, nobody called Christian a punk no more. Nobody said anything about Christian no more. When Christian came in, it was, hey, Christian, how you doing? How's everything going? Because they knew who he was rolling with. And you may be able to beat Christian, but you got to deal with the consequences of the people he's rolling with. So that's what you're seeing here with this guy. He doesn't have a lot of respect for him, but he knows who he's rolling with. Now that he's made, he can't touch this dude. So it makes him jealous of it.
And kissing his ass by saying that we got something. Look at what we're doing. I'm an up and comer. Look at what I can do for you.
Can I add like a quick fun fact?
Yes, you can.
That robbery at Rutgers. Does everyone do it? Does anyone remember Perez Hilton, like the gossip?
Yes, yes. He's the vendor.
He's still around, actually.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't think he died. Heidi, come on.
So what's the story? I don't know the story.
He's the vendor.
He's the guys that when they do the robbery, and the guy who's working, and he's like, this is a benefit that's present.
Yeah. It was before.
One of the things I was going to also add, Tony and everybody, is that like because this, for instance, is also brought up in the Penguin, is the amount of money that these young people would get, like versus if you had a regular job working, like, I don't know, fast food or paper route or whatever a young person would do. They would never know that kind of money. As a young person. So, I mean, that's very alluring.
It's I mean, listen, I'm be honest. I sell drugs when I was little, right?
So did our premier.
Yeah. So it's nothing I'm proud of. But when I first started, I was a child. I used to run for this lady. I would go to her house. She would give me an envelope with a folded up dollar bill. I would go over to another building. I get another dollar bill. I bring back the other envelope to her. And I started that when I was probably like 8 years old. I was doing that. And I did that for a very long time. And so again, you get brought up in situations when you see it, that these are regular people just doing certain things to make a buck. Because if you go out there, and when I was in 7th grade, I paid my rent for my whole family, for my mother and my father had left. I paid the rent. I gave my mother money. I gave my sister money and made sure she had clothes. I took care of all the bills in the house. I was doing that in 7th grade. I was doing that, taking care of everyone in my house, right? Because of the stuff that I was hustling outside. And if I didn't do that, my family would have failed. My mother would probably, my mother did much better. She got her, did a nurse thing, got a registration and everything. But up until that point, it was on me. I had to do it. I was the man of the house. My brother had left, my father had left, and I had to take care of them. And that's what I did. And I paid those bills for many years for them and took care of them and everything else. So when you have people who are in situations like that, and there are many people who are in situations like that who do these things. And I remember the time I did it. I remember the exact time that I had to go pick up my sister. She was in 4th grade. And I had to pick her up from school because they had things in the city called GO movies. And that's a movie you would just go in the auditorium in school and watch the movie. Well, it cost 50 cents. And my mother didn't have 50 cents to give my sister so she could watch the GO movie. So they put her inside the principal's office while she was there, and I had to pick her up. And it was that moment right then when I said I have to do something. If my mother doesn't have 50 cents to give my sister to watch the damn GL movie. And that's what made me go out there and start doing that stuff.
But
so
that is not Jackie Jr.'s story, Tony.
I'm
That
not
is
saying,
just
I'm
not.
not saying, I didn't say Jackie Jr.'s name or anyone's name. I'm just telling you my story. And I'm just telling you how when how you get put in situations and how people see situations and why they do certain things. Not everybody just does things because that's what they want to do. It's the only choice that you have to do. And when you're in a certain situation, you have no choice but to get down or lay down. And that's just what it is. So that's not Jackie Jr.'s situation. That's not that guy's situation, but it is other people's situation.
Yeah. But I look at this show as that, like, if we look at it, like, I look at those people as like, that is them posing like they're in a hard situation when they're not, and they're taking people that really do need to do the things you had to do, and they're making it just seem silly, and they're glamorizing it. I think that the point of this show, I think you're more talking The Wire, when this show right here, when we're talking about these kids are going to school, paid full bill. Their dad wanted nothing to do with them there. They're doing everything they can to do. They're trying to hustle when they don't need the hustle. They don't actually have to do this shit. They're glamorizing what you had to do. And I think David Chase is really trying to like put this under a microscope here in The Sopranos. I know you're saying that you're not saying they did it, but when you say that people see this opportunity, that is just not the case though with these kids. Jackie Jr.
There are a lot of people who I remember having this one dude named Brian, whose father was he was a city councilman, and he used to be out there hustling. And we used to tell him all the time, "Why are you here? If you get bagged up, you're gonna ruin your father's whole political career. We're here because we have to be. We don't want to be here." I know a lot of people out there who hustle said, if I could have gotten to the union, I'd be in the union. I don't want to do this, but I can't get into the union. I can't do these things. So I'm forced to do these things because I got to pay these bills. And that's it. So no, I'm not saying that that's not the case. There are people who just want the glamorous of the glamour life. And that's what it is.
And then when we speak about Jackie Jr. very specifically, because his father pushed him, like his father wanted him to be a doctor, and like we know that Jackie is not doctor material, which is fine, but you know, he had like that pressure of like trying to get out of life, but then it was also like a very high bar was set that he could never make, and then still being around like when Richard Preel got out of jail, and then Ralphie, and like the people he was surrounded with, and you know, and he, you know, he was a dumb fuck.
Michael Jordan Jr. played basketball. Why? Because his father was the greatest basketball. He sucked. He was terrible. But he was expected to be good because his name was Michael Jordan Jr. Everyone expected him that he had to be good because he came from that bloodline. And people are going to expect of Jackie what they expected of his father eventually, because he has the name and he comes from that bloodline, and that puts pressure on you to do certain things.
Well, Tony was trying to keep him out of it very specifically because Jackie Sr. wanted him out of it, but then you hear like the other adults talk about him, like, and just say like, that kid's dumb. Like he would never have made it. Like it didn't matter who his father was. Like he just wouldn't have made it. I mean, which is what happened. Made very poor choices.
I believe that we have an ongoing thread in this story too. And again, I keep feeling like I'm arguing against like that. People are going to think that I'm saying that, oh, people don't have circumstances where they need to do this stuff. That is absolutely not my stance. But my stance is there's a definite Carnegie, you know, what's it called? And I can't think now of wealth. His whole thesis on wealth and what it does to his children. And we see this with AJ in doing what Tony says. Tony, because it is very appealing for them to go into this lifestyle. And they go into this lifestyle and they're just so inept. They're so not, Jackie Jr. cannot do it. AJ cannot do it. They're so weak. They have become so weak because of their father's wealth, of their family's wealth. But still this whatever you want to call it, this pride, or this, like, you know, yearning to be this gangster or whatever, you know, that just is his death sentence for them. AJ and Jackie Jr. are the last people that should be trying to follow in any of their footsteps. We're not saying it's unrealistic for them to try to, but I think that they're really putting this whole series showcases a bunch of people through nepotism, because that's what the mob is. You know, the mob is nepotism. You go through blood. Chris gets brought back up, even though he's a junkie. Junkies are dangerous in the mob because if you withdraw and you'll say anything, he gets brought up until, you know, Tony does eventually kill him. Spoiler, but he's brought up because he's family. We see like a whole bunch of people that are incapable people that are being rose up. And then at the very end, you do see a little bit of a light for this organization with people that are more capable. That guy that actually kills the Shah of Iran, that kills, you know, Phil, that kills Phil. Yeah. That guy is capable. That guy is capable. There becomes, because Tony runs out of family members because he had to kill them all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
See that in every business. There's always sons and stuff and daughters who take over businesses who are totally not good to do it, but because of their bloodline, they take them over, and sometimes they run them into the ground, and sometimes they step up when they don't look like capable people, and they actually grow into that position. So saying AJ is not there right now from what you're seeing doesn't mean he couldn't grow while he's there and become smarter and become a better mafia person.
Gospel of Wealth is what I was looking through with Carnegie. Sorry, it was just about how stupid his children were and how that did not help them.
Well, and look at Carmine Jr., who's another one who was essentially in the mob, and you know, and even though he basically, like, the whole thing between him and Johnny Sack after Carmine died, you know, their little internal war, like, you know, fact of the matter is, like, Carmine Jr. was not cut out for it, but he still was smart enough to, like, get out but stay connected.
Yeah, you use his wealth. I see a little bit of Paul, like, you know, the boss, Gotti's boss that they kill in Carmine Jr. I see a little bit of that White House. Yeah, right. Like that, like, privilege, because once you're so successful, you stop having to be on the street. And like, that's what Gotti was. He was a street guy. And like, that's when they took back, like, the street guys took back the mafia for about 10, 15 years. And then they all killed each other.
Oh, they ruined it.
They all killed each other.
Because they were not just killing each other, they were just too public. They wanted to be celebrities, right? And you have to, like, Carlos Gambino he lived in my neighborhood, Kew Garden Hills, where I grew up. He lived in a very modest house. If you ever seen the dude out there, you seen him, he was just a little old Italian man. You wouldn't think he heard a fly. He was just out there. And then you get the big Paul, and then he buys a mansion on Staten Island, right? It's a different type of person who wants that clout. And there's some people who know the game. The game is to stay undercover. No one's supposed to know. That's why Carlos Gambino didn't die, didn't go to jail, got away, died, and never went away. And everybody else got because they wanted to be more of a celebrity than an actual gangster.
Who was the Chin? The guy that acted like a
Vinny the Chin.
Right. Yeah, like he had dementia, right?
Yeah, well, he faked that because he was going to go Gigante. He used to be a former boxer.
Yes, exactly.
And he got into a lot of problems uptown in Harlem and stuff, dealing with Bumpy Johnson and all of them, because he was trying to run the numbers games up there and everything else. He was just really a chauffeur who got promoted and had his own crime family. So a lot of people resented him because he was just a chauffeur. And then he got promoted all the way up, and people think he didn't pay his dues and stuff. But in the end, he just walked around in Manhattan in his robe and his hat and acted like he was crazy to try to prevent them from indicting him.
Yeah, but he put his vanity aside, right? And it
was too late now. Like it was already too late. Now the news reporters used to, the Chin is walking around. You got every news camera watching you walk around. It was, if he would have been taken care of before that, he would never got into that situation. But he was just in there. He was just came in. He started doing that shit too late, and he just did anything he could to try to stay out of jail.
A little too late. Now you could just go on Twitter and act like a fucking idiot now, and see if it pulls off. This is something I wanted to play really quick. This is Tony at the golf course where he goes with his neighbor, because obviously this does assess class, and I like how we are touching on the class system within the mafia as well, like what Tony was just talking about. The people that, like, you know, that came up like within the upper crest of it, but then also the street guys that got power and they just did not know how to handle it. And that's very interesting. The one thing that as far as real mafia depiction goes, I'd like to hear your guys' opinions after this. I don't like that the crews, like, there's pretty much just the one New York crew, and then there's, you know, the New Jersey crew, which I have something on later about how they look at. We can get into that. I don't know what your guys' feelings are on that. I think it's probably for the streamlining of the story. But this is Tony being asked about when he goes out with his neighbor to the nice club which Tony wants to be accepted by these guys. Tony's a real human being, you know, like just as he's tempted by all these things, he's tempted to want people to accept him. He's a human being. So I think it's they do a very good job of humanizing Tony while making him a vicious murderer too. You know what I mean?
Whoa! It's a lily.
Now that's a shot.
Ball runs like a frightened fawn.
WC Fields. That thing's still running.
I gotta tell you, this is a nice place.
Didn't I tell you?
You know, we ought to see about making.
So that auctioned actually, Heidi. I have it. I'll bring it up after. But what he's wearing here auctioned for like, I think like 13,000. What he's wearing on this golf course.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and these are all like bought. Like, so is there a difference with how he? I can't tell really. It seems like he's dressing a little bit more simple than them.
And it's a shop show. Yeah, pretty much the whole show is shopped.
Yeah,
it's not
but
like it's not as custom made or anything.
But do we look like he looks like a sore thumb with these guys right now? The behavior is a sore thumb, but the visual, I think he looks.
You see the guy who's got these guys' little vest on, you know.
Yeah,
that's what makes him look a little bit more preppy. And Tony looks a little more street out there. And the class thing is always going to be, no matter what it is. You see a lot of these rappers, and I think that's why you see a lot of rappers, a lot of black people in general, when they get a lot of money, you see them try to flaunt the money a lot. You see them buy a lot of jewelry, you see them buy big houses because they want to act like they fit in. But if you ever see like white people who have been around who have a lot of money and you look at what they wear, I'm gonna tell you, every time I see them in sneakers, it's New Balance, regular New Balance sneakers. They may have a Ralph Lauren little polo shirt on. That's it. Nothing else, right? Because they don't have to flaunt that money. They don't have to, because everyone knows they're wealthy. So when you deal with black people who are in that situation, the people automatically assume they're going to be broke. So they have to go above and beyond to make sure everyone knows that they're not broke, and that's why they buy all those things.
Yeah, so I was gonna say also they're wearing pleated fronts, which in 2000 would be a little bit dated, in my opinion.
Yeah, I in my opinion of this, and Heidi agreed with me earlier. You can disagree if you want. None of these people dress well, in my opinion. What do you think, Rebecca and Tony?
I was saying earlier to Justin, like everything is a little just like heightened, right? It's all a little bit heightened.
There's
and
no
over the
there's
top.
no like nuance. There's nothing.
I mean, they're in the burbs, and everything is just, it's a little bit trashy, I would call it. But I was saying there's this sort of group of what's the young group now? Gen Z? What's the youngest group? I don't even know.
Well, the millennials and
after millennials. What's after them?
Gen Z.
Gen Z, yeah. So the
Zoomers,
Gen Zs are doing TikToks about like the hot, like mafia, hot mafia wife. And I'm like, oh my God, I think it's really ugly. Personally, I think it's perfect for the character, but I would never but Tony, one of the things I was watching is, I always sort of think that Carmela probably bought his clothes, like his wife bought his clothes, or he doesn't really, I don't know that he really cares that much about how he dresses, except for, like you say, in some situations it's like, I should probably wear a suit here, or I should probably wear a golf shirt here, but he wears like pretty, simple clothing. Tony, you know the brands better than I do. I don't know the brands, but
I've got some stuff for you, Tony, after this too that I want to get into.
I mean, and also Tony's, he's a little bit overweight as well, so he's not going to look as lanky as someone who he's I don't know, and he's balding, and so he's not going to look as sophisticated, I think.
I will tell you though that it is impressive, because it does show with he does have money, and he does have a lot of confidence, and
the way he Rolex. He has a gold Rolex.
Carries himself, though, he's able to get women in this, like good-looking women, and like a little bit has to do with money. I believe a lot of it has to do with the confidence. And when Tony has a woman aside Gumar, he always wears a more sleek suit, especially even to the therapist. I got stuff to show.
Well, I think as a boyfriend, I think he's actually a pretty good boyfriend.
I think he's a confident guy. He's an impressive guy.
Yeah. And he's not bad looking. Like I'm kind of like, and obviously James Gandolfini is completely, does an amazing job, but Tony is not without his charms. But no, he's not like, I mean, even when he's dressed up, I don't ever find him looking like, wow, he looks so good.
Yeah.
But in that world, I think I suppose he does. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Confidence all comes from the fact that he's the mafia boss.
Yeah.
Without having that, if he took all that away, he would have no confidence in anything. His confidence is due because of the position. that he's in, and that is why he's in the position. That's why he stays. The girls he gets is because of the position. He, not the way he looks, not because they find him attractive and they think he's the great. It's because of his position, of who he is. That's why he gets those girls, and that's the allure of everything, and that's why he does it.
Yeah, Donald Trump is able to get Russian hookers to piss all over.
Hey, Melania's a saint. He's a clown. I don't want to talk about that. Let's not dirty up the stream. Fun fact, let's spin this. Fun fact, James had a big old coke problem during this series. So let's continue on.
He did?
Yeah, huge cocaine addict. Yeah.
That actually makes me really sad.
It is.
That.
Yeah.
Well,
he was good to the cast, though.
But talking about Tony's confidence, being the mob boss, like when in the last season after he was shot, and we spent those episodes like in his kind of purgatory coma world where he was, like ended up doing Seton Hall. He ended up being like a lawn chair salesman and like somehow like worked his way up in some corporate plastics something or other, and like no confidence whatsoever. Like when like the Buddhist monk smacks him, totally a total freak out. So yeah, it's just kind of adding on to whatever.
Yeah, obviously this is confidence is more achievable for a middle-class guy like Tony to jump to this because he has a family name. So the nepotism can get him there. I'm good. That's one thing I'll very much concede on. The way for Tony to be a big shot was definitely easier this route than him being like a high, like selling like car salesman or like advertising agent. But let's continue on to see how these guys are treating him. And he finds out he's just a thing of like fucking. He's like a clown to them, not like a clown, but he's just like an oddity, right? Like they want to pose all their silly questions.
He's a show pony to them.
Yeah, thank you.
He went in there thinking that he could be on their level, but they'll never let him in. They'll never let him be that guy on their level. To them, they'll always look down and pour him into him. They're just, this is someone to tell stories about, and that's it. And that's the only reason he's there, and that's what he gets, and that's the reality check he gets. They say in black community, and I won't say the word that, black guys who try to go into the white world, that eventually you're going to get your N-word moment and realize that that's what they think about you. And that's exactly what he's getting here right now. He's getting his N-word moment and realizing that that's what they truly feel about you.
Would you say that Tony does have it? Now, there's no disagreement on that, but Tony definitely, he says this to his buddy that owns that shop, like that he looks for these options to bleed a pig out. He looks for these types of guys to take advantage of with gambling and stuff like that. Tony is a predator at the same time. Yes, he is falling prey to these guys right now, but he still is a predator, and he's still very much so vicious in this world.
They're dancing with the devil.
They're lambs. Yeah,
they don't realize, you're playing around with the wrong guy here. You play with the wrong guy, you're gonna get bit, and that's just what it is. But they're playing, and sometimes they don't think it can happen to them, but it can happen to you.
Well, and this is also like really early on in the series where I think that that was a little bit more of a storyline that they were like following. Like this was like Carmela's wanting, like Carmela was the one that wanted to be friends with the neighbors, and
they're friends with the therapist, which he wants to impress.
Right, that too. Yeah. But and I think like as the series went on, as far as like Tony being accepted in that world, like that kind of went away. So I don't know if like at the time, like, we still had like Tony the Predator here at this moment, like looking for an in, like with these doctors.
Yeah, this is a hurtful moment. I agree. This is a hurtful moment for Tony. I think that this turns him more towards that predatory because these guys are some freaking.
I was just thinking this kind of reminds me of Caddyshack a bit with Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah, the shot.
Well, think about how Tony looks at people. Tony looks at people that have a drug problem, a gambling problem, where other people are like, oh, how can we help Frank? How can we help Tom? Tony thinks, how can I fucking milk and bleed this guy? How can, you know what I mean? Yeah. How can I bleed this guy out? Like this is an opportunity.
I think I don't know if he thinks that every time. I think if the opportunity opens up, he's a businessman and that's his business to do that. Yeah. And he's going to take advantage of that. Like here in this scene, he genuinely wanted to get along with these guys. But once they cross that line, now you want to mess with me? Do you really know who you're messing with? And now I'm going to show you. And now I'm gonna have to show you the real me, how I really am. Because he was up here fronting, you know what I mean, being a nice guy, and he is a nice guy. I'm gonna say fronting. He is a nice guy and everything else, and he does that. But once you flip that switch on him, that's the different Tony Soprano you're gonna get, and this is what they wind up happening.
Yeah, and I think we've all been in a similar situation where we're just hanging out with different people, and they just want to like whatever. Like when I was a DJ, I dealt with nothing like this, but people just looked at you different as working in nightclubs, and they didn't want to talk to you on a regular level, and you felt out. And this is very hurtful. It can be very hurtful. I think I agree with Becks 100% on this too. I think the only continuation of this type of behavior we see is Tony's independent game that Frank Sinatra Jr. goes to. I think that he prides himself very much so on that, right?
Right.
Like that is his like what would you call it, like right to like upper status, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So but this is very interesting.
Yeah, Tom was just mentioning. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Tom was just mentioning Frank Sinatra was in debt and in bed with some of these businessmen.
Oh, Sinatra's actual Sinatra was ran by the mob. Yeah.
I don't know if he ran. See, that's tough to say. I don't think Sinatra was ran by them. I think they both benefited each other. You know, he helped him in his career, and then when they needed a favor back for helping him, he would give them that favor back. It's a one-hand wash, you know, the other in situations. So I'm saying he was ran. All those guys loved Frank Sinatra. They loved what he represented as an Italian American, singing and everything else. They loved that guy. They worshipped him. They would body you for Frank Sinatra. You know what I mean? So it was just a mutual respect that they had for each other. He knew who, and Frank Sinatra, the thing I like to think about him, from what I think, he didn't forget where he came from. He could have got to that star and dissed them all and act like he didn't know him, but he didn't do that. He still treated them all the same, and he respected them the same way because he understood where he got. And a lot of people, who they do get ahead, they forget where they come from, and then they discredit all the people that helped get them there. And he didn't do that.
Can I ask you this, Tony? Do you think that Frank could tell the mob no, but the mob could tell Frank no?
So I don't. It depends on the. I would think it would depend on the situation.
Yeah.
Justin, did you play the video? I didn't see it.
I didn't want to keep going with it. We kind of covered it all.
I wanted to see it.
Okay, yeah. No, I didn't want to be redundant. I was going to the close.
I wanted to see
I got you. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. Do you guys want to see the clip? I want to see him being dissed.
Tony's weird with this like CW Fields humor. Like he's weird like that. Let me put it back up. Sorry.
CW Fields?
Yeah, he has like a lot of like old, like it's like it seems like his jokes are too old for him. Even is my point.
I mean, he would have been like at that time. He would have probably been born in like the 40s, maybe.
No,
Tony?
No, in the 60s.
Yeah, Tony was born in 1960.
Oh, sorry. Okay, he's the same age as me. Then that's weird.
It's when he got his first guitar.
It is weird, don't you think?
Yeah, he looks. I would never think. I think he looks 1,000 times older than you.
Yeah, because I was born in '67.
How old is the actress who plays Dr. Melfi? How old is she?
Hold on. Lauren Bracco. Hold on.
Yeah.
72, 73?
Yeah, she's
70.
70.
She's 70 now.
Her birthday was on the 2nd.
Yeah, so I'm gonna figure she was the same time. Tony's around the same.
Well, I mean, obviously James Gandolfini. I don't know that he was in. Obviously he wasn't in very good health. And now that you told me, Justin, that he was doing coke, I mean, like that's
And part of that had to do with the part of his reasoning was because Tony had to flip from one emotion to the other so quickly. And it did help him a lot. He was a big pain in the ass for the first 2 seasons, I guess.
Martin Sheen did coke while he was doing Apocalypse Now. So it's not like actors
a heart attack.
He had a heart attack though. But James Gandolfini had a heart attack and died.
Well, thanks, sure, that Martin Sheen's son learned his lesson and stayed clean. Let's move on. Yeah, let's move on. Tiger blood, motherfucker. Let's go. Let's see. And I also have all of the misspeaks and like there ain't no stigma about it anymore. And there's like Machiavelli and like the way that they're Italian, but like, and they try to like appreciate that culture, but they're a little
Jackie's
bit stepped
asking
out
if you're shopping because I think you had some like shopping.
I'm doing Heidi's work. I went and signed up for this auction.
Some pictures of Tony's shirts. Yeah,
I have pictures of shirts for you, Jackie. Aren't you impressed? It's coming. Don't you worry.
Tony, let me ask you a question. And now, if I'm stepping on toes, tell me.
Yeah, you are, you douche. Go ahead.
How real was The Godfather? I mean, in your opinion.
What do you mean, real?
Authentic or not?
I don't know. How would I know? It's the 50s, right?
No, it wasn't. It was 1972.
No, what he means is the story took place in the 50s.
I want to know if you really had to cut your finger and take an oath.
It's like good luck on Times Square on this golf course today, isn't it?
You notice traffic in Manhattan's gotten worse since Don't Block the Box?
You got a lot of friends in New York, Tony?
Yeah.
You ever go down to Little Italy?
You know, San Gennaro, the feast with the kids.
Tell the truth. What's the first thing you think of when you hear Mulberry Street?
Umberto's.
These guys are cool. I just want to put that note in there. These are some pretty cool guys.
Hey, right. Hey, did you ever see that picture of Galante dead with a cigar hanging out of his mouth?
No.
It's a fucking beautiful hit, huh? Sorry, Tony. You probably knew the guy, huh?
How fucking old you think I am?
There you go, Heidi. So his age right there.
Yeah, it's all right.
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I gotta know. Did you ever meet John Gotti?
Yeah. I knew John.
Whoa, fuck!
What was he really like?
Remember Bungalow Bar?
The ice cream trucks?
Like good humor. Except the trucks, they had their bungalow roofs on,
Was Gotti a silent partner in all that thing?
Hey, I don't know nothing about that. Just know that when the company folded and they were auctioning off the last Bungalow Bar truck, one with the peaked roofs, you're right, Coos.
Goose.
Well, they were auctioning off the last Bungalow Bar truck, and I wanted it as a souvenir. Gotti outbid me. Gave me a ride home. You know, he rang that bell the whole way home.
Okay, so as we know, that truck comes up in the prequel, right? That ice cream truck that he's talking about. So how much bullshit? Obviously, it's bullshit, but are we under the assumption there's some truth to him going, not Gotti, but that truck? He steals that truck as a kid and hands out ice cream.
Yeah.
Did anyone notice that the way he rang the bell looked like he was giving someone a hand job?
Oh, he had those. He was playing those dudes. He had them just hanging.
It's so cringeworthy the way they.
It is really cringeworthy.
It's the same way, like, you know, I've been in situations. I remember, like, when I came to upstate New York, and the first day I walked into school in high school up here, the gym coach walks by and goes, and then I think there's 2 black people in the school when I came up here. And the gym coach walks by, doesn't say a word to me, goes, "Oh, we got a new basketball star here." Yeah, it's just like that. Like, you just assume, you know what I mean? It's like someone saying, "Hey, you ever been to Harlem? Huh?" Because you know that's where supposedly black people are. So, "Hey, you ever been to Harlem? You ever done that?" And it's just so stupid, and the way they treat him and stuff and everything. And let me tell you something about the Saint Gennaro feast. I've been there 1,000 times, and it's a great time.
Oh, so you've actually been to that Italian festival?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, cool.
Anyone who lives in New York, Becks, I'm sure, has been there many times.
I've been there.
Anyone who's lived in New York goes to Saint Gennaro.
God damn, I'm the only Italian here and I haven't been. That sucks.
Amazing.
The feeling I was getting, like, you know, when people stop for a car accident, this is what these white guys remind me of, like the people who rubberneck, you know, when they're on the highway and there's someone who's dead in a car. That's what it sort of felt like to me.
I almost said rubbernecking when he was back there trying to look around to see what he's going to say. You know,
Yeah,
it's very,
well,
very
it's like-
embarrassing.
but also, I love how the birds and everything are, you know, they've got the sound of the birds.
The sound design, Becks, the sound design's crazy here for the ambient noise in the background is so goddamn high, and I cut this straight from HBO.
Yeah, you know, I like they do, because they don't score anything. You know, like they use all, like, you know, needle drop. And then I think that they do excellent sound design for all these scenes, like to make anything like more uncomfortable. All the Dream episodes are amazing with like the sound design.
It reminds me of people going up to someone and say, You've been in prison, huh?
Yeah.
Is it really that bad? Do guys really get fucked up the ass?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what it sounds like to me. Someone who's never been in prison, but now you're fascinated about prison life. You want to know, but you don't really want to go.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And you know someone who's been there, so you start asking them questions. It's really that bad? People get shanked at night. You get wrapped and beat up with towels.
The worst part is these three guys had a conversation about to be cool before this whole thing. They said we're going to be cool. We're not going to like ask him too many questions, right? Because you can see like each one of them like edging on, like as one asks the question, then another one's got all rubberneck, like Heidi's saying, and they go in. So yeah, dude, they're giddy little girls, and like they just, oh my God, just with that whole. I'm sorry, I respect the real New York, but these fucking suburbanites here, man. I know, but they're acting like it with their talk and everything. It's horrendous.
Well, that's the whole thing about The Sopranos, right? It doesn't take place in New York. It takes place in New Jersey. These are the people in New York don't look at them as full-fledged mafia people. The people in New York look down on the Sopranos. They say it, that they're a glorified gang. They don't really look at them as that. So they're the low-budget mafia compared to the New Yorkers, and that's what this show is about.
Yeah, would you like? I actually have that clip right here. It's a short one that we could do right here. What Tony's talking about, and it's funny. The card, the same thing comes up because Phil Leontardo, which they took his name at.
By the way, does this guy have this guy has the smallest forehead ever? Like it's like
which one?
He's got like this little narrow forehead. It's like
well, the hair. That's why he's called the hair.
Yeah, if he was royal, they would have had to have plucked it or shaved it because there's no.
He made a lot of sacrifices. Okay, Heidi. He wanted a woman in prison. He had a tissue. Okay, so this is New York talking about the Jersey crew. So we're supposed to have 5 families here. New Jersey. Now there is a documentary. I'm sure Tony has seen it. Let me know if anybody else has seen it. There is a 2-hour documentary about like the people that chase kind of like in Jersey at the time of writing this. They kind of like base this off of. There was even a pork shop, and they have like their phones are all fucking, like what do you call it? When they record your phone, bugged, and like so they have all these conversations of these guys talking about the Sopranos, and so like they're based off this Jersey crew, and Jersey has always been like a lesser crew to New York in a sense. And so forth. So like there is a lot of this, but they've kind of like condensed everything. Like I said, I have a graphic later on that goes through this whole
question because Becks and Tony both live in the New York area. Where is Jersey compared to like New York proper?
Across
as a Canadian, I'm asking.
It's like when you're in Manhattan, like if you're looking north, like Jersey is like to your left and Brooklyn is to your right if you're downtown.
So Tony, where do you live?
I lived in Queens. I grew up in Queens, New York.
Oh, okay. So you're Queens, and Becks, you're in Brooklyn.
I'm in Brooklyn.
Okay. Just I'm gonna have to look at a map later.
Tony brought the African American populace up to 3 when he moved up north, like you said, right? Yeah.
We got a couple of New Yorkers because Tony and I also, when we do the Gilded Age, Tony knows many of the shooting.
That's why I wanted Tony for this because once you started talking about Levi Strauss, I'm like, you'll know everything. I'm just happy I'm from Detroit where we have no culture. And it is what it is. We're garbage.
I'm in Canada, the land of maple syrup.
Yeah, you're just across our bridge. You are in New York.
Mafia is the mafia. Like if you look, so they look down on every mafia, New York mafia, because they have. I mean, if you look at all the stories, Al Capone he's big in Chicago. Yep. He's a New Yorker though. He came from Brooklyn. And he went over there and blew it up. Even the guys, if you ever watched that show, Bad Blood, which is a great show that was on Netflix about the Canadian mafia, those are all Brooklyn guys who went over to Canada and started the mafia over there and ran that over there. So it's always New Yorkers who go all over the place and then
spread that's very cool, Tony.
And everything else. So everybody knows all that. You never seen that show?
We even had, like in the 40s, we even had Jewish mafia.
With Jewish mafia, the Purple Gang is where Detroit. That's our people.
They would do all the rum running and everything.
Well, our people did all the hits, so we weren't really
during Prohibition.
The Purple Gang in Detroit did all the killing. So like we didn't have the actual business end of it. That's why it's not as prominent. It's because they had the hitmen.
By the way, just a sidebar. Years ago, I was living in this. I was renting a house renting like an apartment and a house with my friend. And the guy who owned the house, he was Italian, and his family were from Chicago. So he was like the nicest guy, like totally straight. Like you would not think anything of him at all. Like very, very waspy. His mother wasn't Italian though, only his father was, but I knew his father lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he went away on a business trip and he came back and I said, "Oh, what were you doing in Chicago, David?" And he said, "I can't tell you that."
What was he
And I'm
doing?
like, okay. His last name was Guidi, and I was like, "Dude, are you like in the mafia?"
That's just
Like,
like a stereotetype. That's not even a real Italian last
No,
name.
that was his name, Guidi. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm like, well, I mean, what a weird thing to say when most people just be like, "Oh, I was just, visiting friends or something." Like,
Yeah.
he was like, "I can't tell you that."
He probably should have just said that, to be clear, though. Like, he can't.
Oh,
he
it was
shouldn't.
so weird.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to say.
So then after that, and then he brought me back like a Chicago cheesecake,
Yeah. He's got a.
So then for years I was like, I think he's connected.
Could be. He could be. That's where all the money was for the Detroit Union.
Man, he probably wasn't. He's just trying to front to seem like he was.
Well, he might have just been. Yeah, the whole thing was really weird. Like I was just like, okay, because he
his
said
alibi
it so
was
straight.
bad. Yeah, he's like, I can't tell you. It's like, excuse me, just
can't
make
tell
up
you that,
anything. You're not
I'm
gonna
like,
check.
okay, that's not a weird answer to give me.
Actually, in that wouldn't say that.
No.
Yeah, exactly. That. Yeah. So I think he was messing with me.
I'm in the union.
I think
I'm in this.
He probably was hitting on you and using it to hit on you, and
Yeah, well, he had a girlfriend, and actually
doesn't
she got
matter.
really mad because one day he came up into our flat. Like I had a female roommate, and he came up into our flat, and I was like in my underwear or something. And I guess he told his girlfriend that he had come up into our apartment. It might have been because we had mice or something, and I was screaming I was like on the couch, like a typical. It was almost like something out of a cartoon. Like I'm on the couch screaming my head off because of the mice, and I'm in my underwear. And then he comes upstairs with the broom, and I'm in my underwear. And he was like, I guess he had to tell his girlfriend I was in my underwear, and that was like,
That guy needs to learn how to lie. He needs to learn how to lie, like in all fronts.
So I don't think she was too impressed that his tenant, he went up there to rescue me from the mice while I was in my underwear. But I was usually in my underwear. Tony, you know how I am. When I was younger, at least.
It sounds like a Three's Company episode.
It was very Three's Company, actually. It was.
Then they have to act like he was one of your roommates when the
she
guy
would get
came
really
around.
she got really mad. She's like, "Why were you up in her apartment while she was in her underwear? That's not appropriate."
He's like, "I can't tell you because I can't."
But this was
lie.
the 90s.
Yeah,
it was the 90s. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, that's my David Guidi Italian mobster story.
David Guidi was most likely selling pork or something. He likely was not in the mob. He does not have what it takes.
He was a pork belly seller.
Yeah, he's like, I can't tell you. I sell so much pork.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Carry on.
This is New York. This is New York. Shitty. So a lot of things that we see throughout this seasons, every episode they do a good job of inserting like usually a new character. See Shimi, who's one of them. Richie April comes through. The brother of Jackie April, and we have a few different characters that cause problems because, as in organized crime, you'd have people that went to prison, paid their dues because that's like part of it. Keep your mouth shut. Don't say you can't tell. Make up something, Heidi. You know what I mean? Then do your time and come back and get rewarded. Tony has to deal with these people that come back that left when he was a kid and keep coming back to him when he's now a boss, and he doesn't get the respect. And also, they're expecting a lot because they've served time, and rightfully so, right, Tony? Like these people have served time. These people should have something. But it's just it's very interesting again because this is them remembering Tony as a kid, and now Tony has to prove himself as a boss. I think it's a really interesting story dynamic and a really good, just way to tell this story. So this is Phil Lepertaro. They call him the Shah of Iran. Talking about the Jersey crew. He just wants to whack them. He just wants to get rid of them. He looks at them as oversight. He looks at it having to give too many cuts, and they should just be like having these guys work for them. But this is how Tony's whole crew is looked at, what he is the king of.
Historically, Carmine always said the Sopranos are nothing more than a glorified crew. Plain and simple. We decapitate and we do business with whatever's left. What?
Nothing. I agree in spirit, but I got to counsel.
This thing should have been done during John's era. They got redundant upper management, bleeds off after kick. We take them out, absorb the whole fucking thing.
Take out an entire fucking family?
Let me tell you a couple of three things. Forget Coco. Forget Fat Dom, who goes over to Jersey and never comes back. Forget my brother Billy.
Phil, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Anthony Soprano has no respect for this thing. He's never been in the can. Not really. He's a guy who stepped over his own uncle to grab the big seat. His father's brother.
Please, huh?
I'm embarrassed. I let him come to the hospital last Christmas, and I took his fat fucking hand in friendship.
Philly, you had a heart attack.
Listen to me. They make anybody and everybody over there. And the way that they do it, it's all fucked up. Guys don't get their finger pricked. There's no sword and gun on the table.
Phil.
No, Al. Either it has meaning or no meaning.
So I find a few things about this interesting. He's talking about the actual, like, you know, the way in which the mob works, the hierarchy, but he's also talking about ritual. He's talking about the making of them, and he's claiming they don't prick the finger. This is like a spirituality thing. This is like a religious thing for them. So like he's like claiming that they're illegitimate and it is okay to whack them because they don't follow the same rules. Also, Tony isn't worthy of anything, hasn't proved himself because he hasn't had to serve time. And also the nepotism thing. He skipped over his uncle when evidently he should have just gave it to his uncle, which he did, by the way, right?
Right.
Like for first off. So I think this is very interesting. This is Phil making up reasons why it's okay to kill other made men, because it's not okay to kill other made men, whether they're from Jersey or not.
Go ahead, Walnuts. Let him know.
Huh?
I'm waiting for Becks to speak on that.
Oh, for me?
Yes, of course.
I mean, that's a little bit, I mean, like the Phil storyline at this point, Phil is just like, you know, his back's against the wall, and like they've been yarring at each other for months and months at this point. And I mean, as far as like, you know, killing made men, like, you know, made men do get killed. Like, it's, you know, you're not supposed to just like go around punching at any made men. But, you know, Phil at this point is like the boss of the family. He can order anybody killed.
He would need to consult with the other bosses.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I know about the mafia is like what I see in movies and television shows. So I can't. Like,
you're right, though, Becks, by the way. They will just do it. But what I'm saying, what they're supposed to do, he's trying to... It's just like a royal thing, right? Think about, like, oh, this isn't even the rightful heir. They're trying to delegitimize Tony and his crew right here to make it okay to do what they're planning on doing. And the reason they're doing that is because Jersey has a shit ton of construction going on at this point in the story that they want the money from. So there is money over there. And they look at his weak crew. He's had his brother killed by Blendetto, Tony's cousin. And he's had a lot of things happen to him. And he's been in the joint where he had grilled cheese and he didn't have any women, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff. So like, you know, like he's bitter. He's bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's better. He wants to take him out. And you can't just take off a mafia boss because that puts a target on you, because there's someone who doesn't like you. They could use that excuse to get you killed now. Look what this guy did. He went against and he killed someone that was a family member, a made man. He went in there and just killed him, and you look greedy. So you got to get the backing before you go off and do something like this. You can do it and he could get it done. But then if he has an enemy, the enemy's going to turn around and use this right against him, that he went against the rules, and that's a reason for him to get whacked.
Kings don't kill other kings for that reason. They tend not.
Well,
they do, but they think of ways like he's trying to think of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and you made a point earlier where, you know, we don't see like the full like 5 families of New York thing. Like, you know, so the line of hierarchy is as far as like, you know, going this far. I mean, these guys that he's sitting with, and I can't remember their names.
No, I can't either. I got a picture somewhere.
You know, they just know like what a mess it's going to be. And at the end of the day, like I think their problem is that's going to like mess with the money that's coming into their pocket. It's going to mess with like the whole flow of like whatever dealings they have. And because even though, there's a lot of construction, like New York has their hands in the pot. at this point. Like they're constantly, you know, making deals on all this. And this is ultimately why these guys end up agreeing, like, all right, yes, please go kill Phil.
Yeah.
You know, like this is like
that's a good point.
Yeah.
And in the end, when you do this and you kill a family, it makes a war. When you have a war, then the press gets involved when the bodies start to drop, and it brings unwanted attention on things that you don't want attention on.
Ask Gotti. Yeah. So what we're dealing with too, when we're dealing with the mafia, is that Phil is talking about time, and Phil is just he's impatient. We see this with everybody that gets out of the can in this story, in this type of lifestyle, because these people do stay true to their oath, and there is honor in that. And then they get out, and there's really not a lot for them, right? Like, and they want to overreach. They don't get like, so there's like this way that they say they're going to do things, and then there's a way they really do things. But with New Jersey, they keep, like you said, having stipulations on why they're getting bits of that money for the contracts. Like it's always like a little bit of like a loophole. They're like, oh, because we're part of this, like we have the same real estate guy that's doing claims, so we get this. So this is I'm trying to strong arm. I think you're right though. They see this as there's money coming through. Let's not fuck with it. Yeah, we could get more money for a little bit, but let's not do it like this. But I do like the idea of them trying to pick apart Tony and his crew about the way they do things, and like it fundamentally say that it's not really like killing a boss, right? He's not really a boss. He doesn't prick his finger. He didn't do the sign of the cross. He didn't do it. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. He didn't do the thing.
Right.
It's not that. So I think that there's that aspect of it. And again, they streamline it for all that. So and this is all building up for New York versus Jersey. We hear they have over 200 soldiers in New York. I guess that would make sense hypothetically, Tony, right? That New York would have a shit ton more soldiers than Jersey.
In Jersey, of course they do. Of course, that's not even going to be close there.
Yeah. So, but these guys too, like when we're talking about, let's get to the clothes. So let's get to the clothes, people. Like these guys, they all look handsome. Look at how handsome that guy looks, that Cospliers. And there's Christopher, not on heroin, looking good. On heroin, not looking as good. Let's go through it. Oh, there he is. The constant toxic masculinity. I'm gonna say it one time for this. The way in which he sees him cry. They're all such like beta bitches. They're also insecure. He sees him cry at the funeral, and he can't respect him.
This man loves his wife.
Yes.
And he's just a guy who loves his wife.
Oliver.
The only people that you see in this show who actually loves his wife. Everything about it doesn't matter her weight, doesn't matter. He loves her. He will kill you. And you don't see that shown. He's the one who shows how much he cares about his wife.
And his I love too, because he was a boxer. I was a boxer. I love when he fucks that dude up in the street. He fucking just knocks him with that hook. I love that part about him, because he was supposed to be a boxer. And if you still have a little bit of that left in you, you can do that shit. And I love that he does that. So he is this guy that cries. You know what I mean? But it's also like there's just this toxic masculinity. He's like, I can't look at him the same way. Then you heard what he said about Tony. I can't believe I had him in the hospital with me. Right? Like it's such petty nonsense. That's why I can't help but to say these guys are dangerous. But there's so many laughable things that I feel the Sopranos brings out. This is a bit of a comedy.
It is a comedy. I look at it 100% as a comedy. I never looked at it as anything else but a comedy. I laughed at everything. I mean, when he's driving and that lady, and he hits that lady in his car, and then they have her ass go right up against the windshield, and then she falls off. I mean, that's a comedy shot. They did that on purpose to make her ass hit the windshield and fall up to the side. It's a comedy. It's all comedy. Everything is comedy. This show is hilarious.
And speaking about comedy, can we go over to Paulie really quick, Paulie Walnuts, because I find him to be such an interesting guy. He is a guy that actually was a connected guy in the New York families in the 70s. He was a debt collector. He was connected. He wasn't a made man, but he was
his
somebody.
Hair, by the way, is so cool. Like he's like, who is Spider-Man's? Who's Peter Parker's boss?
J.J. Jameson.
Thank you.
J.J. Jameson. Yeah, like that white strip like that. It's so great.
So there's a funny story about that too.
All the Italian men have like pompadours, like kind of like a pompadour.
Well, he wouldn't let anybody touch his hair, Heidi. He did it 2 hours in the makeup chair.
No, yeah, of course not. You know, because I'm watching this other show I was telling Justin about it called Grotesquerie, and there's this priest in it. By the way, Becks, you would love this show. There's this priest in it, and he has like, yeah, he's got that pompadour, like an Elvis kind of, thing. But no, his hair, I don't know if that's natural or because like I don't know if I ever told you this, but Peter Baelish, who is played by, is it Aidan Gillen?
Yeah.
They actually did dye his hair on the sides. Like that wasn't a natural Peter Baelish color. So I don't know if they kind of exaggerate it. It doesn't look natural. But it's very, very
It's like
cool.
wingtips, they call it, or whatever.
Yeah. And he's got like quite a widow's peak as well, right?
Yeah, so this is an interesting guy for a lot of different reasons. He's a lot of the source of comedic relief in the show, but also he is your example of a lifelong soldier, right? Like he is the guy that has never risen up. He has stayed at the same status. There is things that like he wants, like Tony, like when he's going to stay at the same, his mom is going to stay at the same retirement home or community, as Tony would say. And Tony says he's going to stop and talk to his mom. That's like the fucking president coming and talking to his mom. Like Paulie, everything he owes to, like, everything he does in life, he's not married, everything he's done is for this family, right? And they don't even know his name over in New York. And it's
he's broke.
Yeah, he's broke. He's giving it all, man.
He's done all these years and he's done everything and he hasn't saved his money. He doesn't have a big house. He has a little tiny apartment. He's broke.
Yep.
Nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and this is an interesting, like him and Junior are used as like cautionary tales. You don't want to end up like him or Junior. Junior ends up having some money, but I think Junior is also disrespected because he's never married. But I think Paulie is I think Paulie really embraces that. Like Tony, if you could speak a little bit more about the windbreakers, I'm gonna pull up some stuff for Tony here. Because you had some interesting stuff to say about like where that comes from, and it's Italian.
Yeah. Lynn is asking about the pinky rings. I'm not so familiar with that. Is that something that's given to them by by Tony?
I wear my pinky ring. I always have my pinky ring on, and that is because of Italian people. They always rock. Some things just come from their culture that they, you do something and then all of a sudden it becomes a trend. Like, they always the people rock the pinky ring and then the next guy got the pinky ring and it just becomes a trend. Flavor Flav put on the clock around his neck and then everyone put a clock around his neck. He didn't intend for everyone to do it. Just people just pick it up. And that's just an Italian thing. I think they popularized the pinky ring. I would say the Italian people popularized that. And as for the windbreakers, the windbreakers, Black people were wearing it in the hip hop days. We used to always wear windbreakers all the time. The B-boys when they were breakdance because it's easier to spin on.
Yeah,
like we backslide
material. Yeah,
so you could go around on linoleum and rock that. So it's more of the '80s thing that the windbreakers came into style and they rocked them. But again, they rocked this. They usually rock a Sergio Tacchini one. That was the one that they rocked because it was Italian brand.
Brand. And now is it an Italian American brand or is it an Italian brand, Tony? Do you know?
I can look it up.
I wonder that because sometimes like some of the stuff, I watched this analysis video and one of the characters, Justin, you'll have to remind me who it is. He wears a lot of Armani, the sort of, what is it? The motifs that Armani has, it's like Medusa sort of motif that Armani sort of embraces. So everything he wears is very Italian. The guy with the long hair and the ponytail Furio, sorry.
Furio,
yeah.
Well, I met both of them. I met Paulie Walnuts and I met Furio, and I met them both at the boxing.
Oh, you met them?
Yeah, I met them both at the Boxing Hall of Fame. They both were grand marshals at 1 year.
Oh, that's so cool, Tony.
So
I met Steven Van Sant at a premiere of a movie that I cut.
That's very cool, Becks.
And he was with the guy who.
Is he the same one who's in what's that? It was actually I think one of the first Netflix shows.
He's in it's damn it, it's not the tip of my tongue. He's in a show now. Hold on, I'll look him up. Anyways, what I wanted to add about the windbreakers is that there is a certain practicality of that because if you're a street guy, you need to like rough somebody up. So Tony, think about if you have to go rough somebody up, what are you gonna wear? Right.
Well, I think they want to be comfortable.
Well, you have to to be wearing.
And
if you get to
comfortable yet stylish.
You need to rough people up. Like you can't
Like
be
we now
wearing
call
things
it
like,
an Italian, like they used to call it, now they call it like a Russian tuxedo. But really the Italians were the ones who sort of established that tracksuit look, right?
Lilyhammer is what he
Yeah,
did.
listen, I'm telling you,
Lilyhammer, that's it. Thank you.
the
Yeah, it was like,
thing-
I think that was the first Netflix produced show.
Was it?
It's like he turns state's evidence. Is that correct? And he ends up in like in Lilyhammer.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the number one thing I'm telling you about Italian people when I was growing up and everything. Number one, they rocked the Cavaricis. That was a staple. I don't know if you guys know what Cavarici pants are. I'm sure Becks remembers.
The Cavarici, oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the number. They used to wear the Cavaricis. It was a high-waisted jean, and they would peg at the bottom. They would peg it, and then they would wrap it up and tie it up around their ankles and stuff.
Aw, look at Penelope. By the way, okay, so like that, I grew up in a very Italian neighborhood in Mississauga. And I have to say that we always like Madonna was the big cultural influence, at least with the ladies, right, Tony? So in the 80s, so Madonna was her Ciccone was her real name. She was a huge influence. But I have to say, I was telling this to Justin earlier that a lot of those looks, I just feel that they're very like kind of a little bit you like Euro trash is maybe, I don't even know if that's a terribly offensive word. If it is, I apologize.
Yeah, well, let's see if we lose that demographic.
I would sort of, that's where I would sort of define it, because it's not like, it's not a Milan look. It's not a sophisticated Milan look. It's kind of a little bit, especially with the heavy weight of the jewelry and the gold. Like Carmela's always got like, she's got so much gold on her, like she could like, you know, basically drown in that gold, I think.
I find anything more than a few pieces of jewelry hard to take, and if anybody can pull it off, I respect them.
I mean, like on a red carpet, you never wear like earrings, a necklace, and rings, like, and or a cuff, I should say. You never wear all three. That's like a super big, you don't ever do that, right? You can wear a necklace and a cuff, or you can wear earrings and a cuff, or a necklace and earrings, but you can't wear like all three. It's like super trashy. So whereas them, it's like, let's do it all. Let's, you know, more is more.
They're gaudy.
They're gaudy, yeah, exactly.
And
like John Gotti.
Italian people back then in those days, they used to, in the city at least, they used to always wear, they would have the hat, either the half shirt with the stomach open, they would have the half shirt that came up here, or they would have the gold gym. The muscle guys would have the gold shirt. And then they have those big like MC Hammer type pants, those real baggy like pants.
Parachute pants.
Purple and all different colors and black. They would rock those pants with the with the gold jib shirts. And they used to always be, because I lived close to Francis Lewis Boulevard, and like over there in Bayside, that was all the time. Like the whole place over there, all Italian people.
Yeah, Jackie, I just don't want to be offensive, because I don't want to say like white trash can be very offensive, or, you know, Euro trash. I'm not sure if those are offensive. So, but I think I guess what I'm trying to say is it's very heavy handed, but I think costume wise, character wise, they did an amazing job. Like sort of like, look at Polly there. Like, like those, we used to call those wife beaters, right? Which again, you're not supposed to say that anymore.
Yeah, but that's what they are. And also, like, again, like, so Paulie's always wearing the suits at the strip club. He runs a shitty strip club. I knew a guy just like him, used to wear it for him. Terrible guy.
And the oversized crosses, like the crucifixes, like they always wear like these heavy.
Well, if you're not going to church, but you want to claim to be a Christian, you got to have a big old cross. But like, I don't want to skip over like the practicality of wearing things. Like, if you have to go and you know you're going to be in a fight, you don't wear something that has a hood. You don't wear something loose, because people can grab it. So it's like, it makes sense to wear the things that you would wear if you were going to have to rough somebody up. Like I think that,
and Luna and Jackie and some people in the chat are talking about how the tracksuits are actually very practical, but because if you get in a fight, like, I mean, like you say, Justin, you don't want to wear a hoodie.
No.
So someone can use that against you. You want to, and also your clothing, you want it to be somewhat disposable. So it is practical.
No flip flops. I learned no flip flops. One time I really lost bad.
What's the deal with What's the deal?
I picked the fight really drunk when I was 23, and I was a boxer. I'm a good fighter. I was a bad fighter that night. I wore flip flops, and my God, did I look like an asshole, and I got what was coming to me. Flip flops were the worst thing that ever happened on gravel.
Well, they're very bad for your feet, so you should wear them.
You can't.
I don't think these guys are talking about mafia people or anybody on a regular basis dresses because they think they're going to get into a fight. I think they dress if that's what they're comfortable in.
Yeah.
And if a fight happens to break up, that's what you're. And no one goes outside like, all right, I gotta wear this. Unless you know you're going to go into a fight, then you don't wear sweatpants because they'll grab your nuts and pull them down on you and stuff. You gotta wear these, right?
But if you're collecting money, Tony, what do you wear? I mean, there's gonna be
wear what you know. People wear their regular clothes. It's like I said, you get robbed by people dressed better than you. You know, people just wear their regular shit and go do what they do.
I guess it depends how cocky you are and how many people actually step to you. I guess that matters.
Oh, Becks wants to say something.
Yeah, so Tony never wears like a windbreaker suit. Like occasionally you might see him in like something similar when he's at home.
It is when he's doing jobs. Sometimes I'll find one. Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think so.
I'm not. One.
Yeah, I think the only time we see him in like a tracksuit kind of thing is when he's at home. You know, like he doesn't wear, 3-piece suits to like go whack somebody, but again, like, Tony's the yuppie in the group. Like, he's a little bit more sophisticated. Like he would not, I agree with our Tony in saying like, I don't think this is just, practicality. I think it's also, again, showing us the difference within the class of people,
You're right too. By the way, he wears a leather jacket. Becks, you're absolutely right.
Wearing a golf shirt and dress pants, that's like dress casual or like it's business casual, I should say. Yeah. And then wearing a suit, he's dress casual. But like you say, he sometimes wears a leather jacket, which then reminds me again of the Penguin, right? Because he's wearing these black leather jackets.
You don't see him in jeans. He's always got on some type of khakis or some type of something. You never see him rocking jeans at all. Always keeping that upper, that I'm above, I'm a businessman.
Yeah, because jeans would be considered, even if he's doing something very, like less than official, he still wants to create a presence of himself. Like all these guys are wearing golf shirts. So he still has to, but I still have this idea that Carmela buys his clothes for him. Like she's a shopaholic.
Well, I
don't know.
He might give her a dictate on it. Like he might say, okay, I only want these.
They get like high-end Italian suits that come off the backs of trucks.
That's true. Yes.
That's
true. They can pick them off.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Tony likes to shop.
Yeah, I think his Gumar buys him more clothes than Carmela does. But I think that I don't know. It depends. I think Carmela is very much so aware of the situation.
I'm saying this from somebody who I buy pretty much all of my husband's clothes, like I do. It's just sort of thing, and like Carmela likes to shop. So I could see her going, "Oh, this would be something that Tony would like."
Yeah,
but she would have to think that he'd be wearing that to get with other girls. I feel that's her mentality.
But also, like Christmas time, when you're a mom, when you're a wife and mom, you go, "Here are some clothes for the coming year." Here you go.
When you're in the lifestyle that she got in, too, right? She understood what came with it. That there's going to be, the other girlfriends and hanging out, and she was fine with it. It wasn't when it got brought to her house. When it got brought to her house, that's when you brought your dirt home. If you just keep it out the house, do what you gotta do. I'll do what I gotta do, and it's over. Yeah. But once he brought it to the house and it started coming to his front door, that's when she couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, we can get into the women after this and hypocrisy of Carmela. I absolutely agree with that.
Luna wants to know if we can talk about the
Let's do
women.
it. Let's go. Let's do the one thing that's about this is one of the overt things. I brought this up to Tony when we were doing a different project. I brought this up to you, Heidi, about the overtly talking about costumes. Like right here, it's heard that he wears shorts, and I don't know. I don't wear shorts. I don't know if I do it for the same reason. I just don't like them, but evidently.
Oh, here he is. Here's the newest hotel.
Look at Ralphie too. He always wears those like weird 70s, like he's not wearing one like that, but those like crochets or whatever they are, like cravats or whatever. Like he'll usually have on. He's a weird dude. He's got the guy with the wig on. Ralph.
Tom.
Salud.
By the way, where do I know him from? I know him from something.
He's in the Matrix. He's in a few things.
Oh, he is the guy who he's actually bald.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tony finds out when he murders him.
Okay.
Anything else with the Esplanade I should know?
Oh, it's the girls from Icelandic Air. Oh, come on in.
Classy stuff.
You know what's weird? I did a job for Icelandic Air at one point. I understand.
All right, let me get the fuck out of here. How's Junior?
He's gonna be all right.
Tell him he's in our prayers, etc.
I'll be sure and let him know.
One other thing, though. John said he went to a cookout at your house.
Yeah.
Don doesn't wear shorts.
All right, come on. Elevate.
So that line came from, I guess, he got a real call in real life from someone from the mafia, and he answered the phone, and that's what the person said to him on the phone. Don doesn't wear shorts, and then they hung the phone up on him, and that's why they put that in the show.
Yeah.
Is this like Tony was barbecuing wearing shorts? Is that what?
Yeah, it was at a former. He was doing this. So let's move on to the women. Yeah, Jackie. I don't know. I always feel awkward with shorts. I feel like it's weird. What do you do with the sock? I don't like it. I try not to. I wear shorts if I'm like outside working out or something. But I don't like. I feel weird.
I wear shorts all the time.
I don't know.
Like,
I just
all
feel
the time.
Khaki shorts or jean
I wear
shorts.
whatever I feel like wearing. If it's hot outside, I'm putting shorts on.
You wear jeans,
I wear them all the time. Even when I'm working, if I'm getting on a call with clients and stuff like that, I still wear my
inside
shorts.
is one thing. Anything below, but if you like jean or cargo shorts seem weird to me. I don't know. I don't
I go out. Jackie likes sundresses. I go out shopping and I'll be wearing my shorts. What about you, Becks? Do you wear shorts?
Well, girls wear it more. I think
I wear shorts when it's hot.
Jack wears like they're like they're Bermuda, I guess they would call them, like just sort of mid thigh, just above the knee though. Do you wear shorts?
I think it's very sexy to have a woman with big glasses, sundressed, and a big hat. Like that's.
Well, I like sundresses.
I love it. I think that looks amazing.
Tony, I have a big hat. I'm gonna show it to you later.
Okay, so let's go to this. Let's shout out this Bada Bean. This is a Instagram that I found, and it's very classy, just like the bean. And
do you guys have what's it called, East Side Mario's in the States?
What's that?
Oh, what?
East Side Mario's? Do you have that? Or maybe that's a Canadian. It's like East Side Mario's, Bada Bean. Anyway, it's and it's an Italian chain, and I love it. I go there. It's my favorite restaurant, and Bada Bing is sort of.
No, we have Delmonico's.
Delmonico's. Okay.
Delmonico's.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina, so I'm like the only Italian person here, so it's fucking
Bada boom,
terrible.
bada bing.
Yeah, okay, so let's go through. We got his one of his Gumars right here. Beautiful. Well, I think she's one of the prettiest.
So is Gumar a mistress in Italian?
It is a lady friend.
Okay, a lady friend. Okay.
Lady friend.
That actress, she's actually a very well-known actress.
Yeah, she's in therapy with him in the actual thing. So Carmela with her pantsuit looking like Hillary Clinton.
Carmela's hair throughout this whole show.
Yeah.
Like, and then she gets the Karen look, but like it's always a bit
before
of a
the Karen
bouffant.
look. Yeah.
It's always a bit of a bouffant.
Well,
It's always big, yeah.
It's always big. It's super trash.
When Eddie Falco tried out for this role, she thought she wouldn't get it because she does not. She is Italian, but she doesn't look like like that last woman looked like, and thought there's no way to get it. And she was perfect. This is exactly what they were looking for. This type of Italian blonde hair.
Is she naturally blonde?
She doesn't look. She does not look to be. But yeah, I think she's. You'd have to check into that.
On Nurse Jackie, I think she's
blonde.
So she colors her hair.
Yeah, she's blonde in Nurse Jackie.
Yeah, she was. She's on pills. She's pretty cool. Let's see. So let's go through. I do think the children, because I'm the same age as AJ exactly, and I can say that like the dressing for those kids, I didn't dress like him, but a lot of kids did. Meadow was like 2 years older than me, 3 years older than me. I think that's spot on. I think that this costume designer did exactly what they needed to do as far as like keeping it current.
Well, I was reading that they did, like, she went to a lot of the malls and the costume designer went to a lot of the malls that a lot of these women would have gone to and
asked them what bands they like and stuff like that.
Yeah, like just, and Carmela has this particular look about her. And then, this character, she wears a lot of the leopard.
Oh,
Adriana was such a sexy girl in the time of the show.
She's like a vixen.
She's not anymore. She's
no, I know.
But dude, during the time of the show, she was, Sons of
Her
Anarchy.
hair too. I think her hair is frosted, so it has like that, like so she's got those
really intense highlights.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they were doing frosting anymore.
Yeah.
I had a friend whose mom got her hair frosted in the 80s. But yeah, like really heavy
frosting.
highlights.
I think they do it like, because I remember the commercials, they used to just sort of like draw it on the frosting.
I don't remember.
I remember like we sent somebody. I remember like they used to do the caps as well.
Yeah, the caps,
the caps. They would crochet hook the hair out of the cap, and then they would highlight it.
This looks very 80s to me. Right here.
The hair is not totally big enough to be 80s. Like
no, I'm not talking about her hair. I'm not talking about her hair. I'm talking about her outfit.
The leopard, the high-waisted pants.
I mean, like, I think that. I mean, I think that looks of the time for that demographic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it looks quite 80s. Like, I think it looks like 90s.
Yeah, it's like 90s.
Like the fits are more 90s than 80s.
Yeah. So there's that sort of Armani kind of like shirt.
Oh yeah.
So what do we think about Furio?
So terrible.
Like because they go to.
He's actually a good-looking guy.
Oh, he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah. It's just
the difference is between him and the rest of the guys, though, because they go to Italy, they're very out of place. They're fish out of water. They bring back they bring back this zip. This Sicilian here, they bring him back, or actually he's from Napoli. Sorry, he's from Naples. He's on a zip. So they bring back a guy from Italy, and like they have nothing in common with him. It's funny, they're talking about Columbus Day and taking all this false pride or pride, whatever you want to call it, in it. And he's like, no, the Columbus always look down on us Northerners. You know what I mean? Like it's so interesting to see like they embrace this Italian culture, but they're so departed from it. Is my point. As being American.
Funny. Okay, so Furio, there's this guy that my husband works with, and who's also Italian, and he, like, the ladies love him. So even though he's married, but every time, like, it got actually there was a bit of an issue because he would be working on a gig, and then he would pick up a lady, and take her back to his room, like one of the clients, and sort of. So it became he was a bit of like a Fabio, kind of like a Fabio, very attractive. So anyway, one day we were having a meeting. Jack was having a meeting. This guy comes over to the house, and I'm like, "This is the guy," like, and so he was kind of like that, like he's sort of like a long, slick back hair and a ponytail, kind of. Wearing this sort of clothing, and I'm like, this is the guy that all the women are like falling over. Like it wasn't attractive to me, but I could kind of see it, like why people would be attracted to it. But the thing with Furio though is that he's got like the long hair, but then he's also got the sideburns. I don't know. It just feels a little bit wrong.
He also beat the shit out of that woman at the tanning booth. But anyways, so so the northern that's what I'm finding interesting, Jackie, is that they're so now they're American Italian, just like I am, so like they have very little knowledge of it, but it's so interesting to see when Furio comes over from Italy. Yes, it is a northern and southern thing, so he's more, but the demographics should be closer and there'd be more biases just like north and south here. But I just find it interesting because they don't understand him. They have very little like Italy left in them. When this whole thing of theirs, this La Costa Nostra is supposed to be from their thing from Sicily. And it's interesting. I think it's brought over on purpose.
And also, you got to understand too, in Italian things, that most of these people are Sicilian. A lot of Sicilians are looked down upon because of by the other Italians, because they were conquered by the Moors, and basically taken by slaves by the Moors of Africa, and a lot of them have black blood in them, so they've always looked down upon by the other Italian people.
Yep. And during Roman times,
by the way, I love Michael's girlfriend. Sorry, what's her name again? She's ironing Adriana. She's ironing that outfit while she's wearing like this really cute crop top and like she's, her body is, I don't know.
Yeah, she's on her son does her OnlyFans, and it's just a big mess now.
I'm more attracted to Carmela's body than her body.
Oh, really? That's interesting. No, I was gonna say, Ariana's body is kind of snatched, as the young people say.
Well, yeah, and now when
Snatched?
now what happens, and and ever since she threw up,
Justin.
Her son, she's bigger now, and she's not. That doesn't matter, but she has her son does her OnlyFans, and it's really just like odd, and it's not attractive. Right. So I'm just saying, I'm not attracted to that, obviously, because there's a lot of issues there.
But I was mentioning earlier when I was, when I was in high school, that I went to school with a lot of Italian girls, Italian, Portuguese, Maltese, and they did the big hair, and everything was like as. Tony was mentioning the Aquanet, or that, huge hair, lots of makeup, lots of jewelry. And I went to Catholic school, so we had to wear a uniform, but it was just, they would turn their, the kilt so that it was super short. They would roll the band at the waistband, and I don't know, it was very, very. And meanwhile, I'm super waspy. I'd be like,
what does waspy mean? What does that mean?
White Anglo-Saxon Protestant.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, white Anglo.
Everybody knew that but me.
Yeah, I mean, you have
waspy.
You have the wasps, and you have the Japs, the Jewish American princesses. You have the Greek American princesses, right? These all these. But Justin, if you Google 80s Italian women big hair, you will see the difference.
Yeah. So
I was just talking about her
Madonna.
body.
Madonna was a huge influence at the time. So
yeah,
they
I get
would
the
have
hair
the
thing.
big hair. And then they wear the big gold earrings and the bangles and all that kind of thing. And then me being the wasp, I would have my kilt full length, just above my knee, because I was a super nerd. And I had my hair sort of more sort of I had it shaved up the side and long in the front, more 80s, that way. Whereas most of the girls would have their hair really big and sprayed, and so I was not in that group. I was in my own sort of
80s Italian women big hair. You see there's a big difference compared to what they're doing here. This ain't big
absolutely hair. I was the 80s
that
wasp
big hair
girl.
was out the
I had the but they would do the eyeliner. The eyeliner was really big.
That's so specific. I didn't know that. White
Protestant.
Protestant. Yeah, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Oh man, that's a weird thing to do.
Yeah, wasp.
Meadow, evidently she has MS, the actress, and she's struggling with it at this time. Yeah,
she had an eating disorder, if I recall, as well.
She has a neurological disorder that's affecting her muscular, whatever you call it. She has neuropathy. She has a peripheral damaged.
That outfit she's wearing in the kitchen, though, I think is super cute.
It is, but if you see her recently, unfortunately she's becoming really skinny because of that ongoing.
That's eventually, you see everyone seeing Richard Pryor.
But Carmela just always, Tony said, it's nothing against the actress, she's beautiful, but just the way they do her hair,
she's not supposed to represent sexy. His Gumars are she's supposed to represent
she is sexy though.
No, she is. I'm not, but she's not supposed to represent
Tony thinks she's hot.
And he's just used to her. So what happens when you deal with men and you're getting relationships and everything, once you're used to something, anything outside the box looks better to you because you've already had it. That's why when Furio seen her, he sees the sexiness in there because he ain't never had it. So he sees her what she really is. And Tony has forgotten what she really was.
Yeah, new becomes the new hot, not hot. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it.
Well, his first girlfriend was in the show.
Oh,
the one who wanted to commit suicide.
Oh,
she
the
was
Russian.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Oh, she was stunning.
He should have made it work with her. She had a few problems. It would have been fine.
She's way too young for him, though, too.
The girl with the one leg was good looking too. She smoked a little too much, but she was good looking.
What do we think of Noah here? He's a douche. I really like what the show does here because Tony is a huge racist.
He's wearing sandals and socks.
He's a huge douche. So here's the thing that I like about the show. So Tony's a big old racist, which isn't okay, right? And in most shows during this time, in this. No. So in most shows during this time, they would have been so this guy's going to be a really good guy because Tony's a big old racist. They managed to pull off both. Tony's a big old racist and he's wrong, and this guy sucks. this guy sucks on his own merits. He's a terrible douchebag, and I think it's awesome. I think that Sopranos does that constantly. It's like they don't play to those just like, like stereotypical roles. He's like, oh, he's gonna be such a nice guy and we'll feel bad for him. No, fuck that guy. He sucks. You know what I mean? Like Tony's not right either, is my point. But I think that they made a point to show the layers of how horrible people can be.
You see, he's all right. There's a difference between racism and being a bigot, right? There's two different things: being racist and being a bigot and everything.
Yeah,
else.
He's one of them.
Tony practices more in white supremacy, but he'll hire a black person to do a hit for him, or hire a black person to do his thing. So he doesn't resent black people. He just believes that he's above them. So I would say it's more of he practicing more in white supremacy than actual straight racism. Because if you're straight racist and people are straight racist, you're not hiring a black person to do anything or nothing. You're not talking to me. Like, you don't want nothing to do with it.
I gotcha. Yeah,
right?
I gotcha.
I mean? So he more practices in white supremacy than being a straight racist. He says racist things, and just because you say racist things doesn't make you a racist. Well, you can say racist things, and
that's good news for all you racists out there. Isn't that amazing? Great news.
It's more of a mindset, right?
No, I get what you're saying. The only thing I was bringing up is the color of the characters, not talking about the actual color, but having such a blend of human beings, of not making it so simple and telling the simple storyline of poor Noah. No, fuck Noah. Noah sucks. No, that shouldn't happen, Noah. But Noah sucks, dude. Noah's the worst. He like bangs that roommate of hers, and then like he like has a lawsuit on. Dude, he sucks, dude. I hate that dude.
But the whole thing is, if Tony was really a racist, there'd be no black guy in this house.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. So what? He's more of a bigot, or just?
I'd say he's more practicing of white supremacy. He just thinks he's above black people. He thinks that he's above them and stuff, so that dating them is lowering them. Like I remember I dated a white girl, a bunch of them, but this one was Czechoslovakia, and her mother told me, she said that, I just think that when my daughter is with you, she looks bad. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, she just, to me, it feels like she looks bad walking down the block with you. And I was 15 when she was saying that.
Jesus Christ.
She just looks bad, So
did she say no offense?
No.
I mean, Jesus Christ, that's a rough thing to say.
Like, I think she looks bad walking with you. And that was her thing. She thought that us walking, I made her look bad. I brought her down by her walking and hanging out with me. Like I lowered her worth. I lowered her value. And there are people who believe that. Like I know white guys who have said, I'll never date a white chick who's dated a black man before, because they feel like they've been lowered. Their value has been lowered because of it.
Man, there's so many reasons not to like people. Color is not one of them.
I was going to tell you guys that my dad told me this story when he was young, that he wanted to date this Italian girl, and he went to her house to pick her up, and he had to be brought into the house and meet like everybody, like the whole family, the dad, brothers, the cousins, everybody.
Yeah.
And my dad said he took her on a date and then he never went back.
I had a guy that made me work out in front of them, the family. It was Italian, and I'm Italian too, but it gets bad. Like when I have my niece around and like the guys that are around, they're be nice to them. I'm like, back in my day, like they were as rude as they possibly could be. It was part of it. You had to prove yourself. Like not what Tony would had happen to him. That's fucking just racist. That's terrible.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? But like this, I went down into this guy's basement. They were rich. They had like this whole built-in gym, and he made me bench press in front of him and the brothers without like the women. Like he like literally like made me like show my strength. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, whatever, I guess that's what I got to do.
Let me be clear though. It goes both ways. There are black people who will look down on you if you're with a white chick. There are black people who will look down on black women who date white men. They'll call them bed wenches, right? And they'll say things like that. So it goes both ways. It's not just a white thing. It's every race has that. Chinese people, Asian people, Spanish people, everyone has people like that in their family, and that's the way I feel. But in the end,
well, even within certain cultures, that even within their own culture,
they don't like the Furio doesn't like the people from the South. You know what I mean?
Well, I have to run. I've worked all day. I'm really tired. I'm so sorry.
Yes, thank you. Oh, Tony, we've kept you for like a couple of hours. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
No,
really appreciate it.
If you keep it going, if you do a part 2 and a 7, I would love to come back on and talk.
Tony, would you be willing to come on and talk about From with me?
Yeah, I do From every week.
I've been watching your videos, and I'm like a huge fan of the show.
So yeah, you can come on my channel and we can talk some From.
Can we plug your book really quick before you go?
I'm trying to get the costume designer to talk to me, but I don't know if she's allowed to. So
she won't talk to you.
I'm trying to get her to talk to me.
Oh, let me see. I'm pretty cool with a couple of people in there. I see, but
maybe you can help me out then.
You have more contacts than me. You get all the.
I reached out to her directly. I'm hoping she'll respond to me, but she may not. I don't know. But I don't know. I said to her, I don't know if you're allowed to talk to me about certain things. Spoilers, obviously, but I thought it would be a really cool interview to do with them.
You know what? I'll see if I can get her on. If I can get her on, then I'll have you on too.
Oh my God!
Let's
awesome.
link
Thanks
Tony's
so much,
book.
Tony.
I just got it 2 days ago.
Okay, we're gonna plug your book first.
It's really good. I'll tell you what. I was very surprised.
It's a children's book, right, Tony?
No, it's like a thriller. Yeah.
I thought it was a children's book. Where did I get that idea?
His last one was.
Oh, okay, that's what I.
No, he's stretching. Tony, it's really good so far.
Tony, what is it?
It is a psychological thriller. I would say it's.
Is it on Amazon?
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna buy it.
It's called Darkest Before the Dawn. You can find it on Amazon. Tony Bowers, Darkest Before the Dawn.
I'm getting the link right now.
Oh, thanks, Jackie. Jackie did a link.
Yeah, I've got the Amazon. I'm gonna rate you on it. I got it 2 days ago. I started reading it. I got 2 chapters in. I'm loving it, Tony. It's really good. I'm not even bullshitting.
Tony, I'll
really
leave a review as well on Amazon.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy it.
No, good for you. I mean, that's a way different book than the one you wrote before. It's awesome.
If you come back or if I come on and we do we'll do a giveaway if you want to come back.
All right. I mean, I'll always come back.
I'm dying to talk to you about From. I'm so excited about that.
We can talk, Brian. If you want to talk to Becky about From, I don't know if you watched the show or Justin, just let me know.
Bex, have you watched From? Oh my God, you have to watch. I'm trying to get Justin to watch it.
Yeah, it looks good.
This has been
so good. Tony,
Yeah,
also before you go, please watch Grotesquerie.
All right.
I think you will love it.
Try to watch Bad Blood. It was on Netflix. They pulled it off, but it's a true story.
That's good. Yeah, I've seen that.
True story about how the mafia in Canada got started. So all from the headlines and everything, all true, and everything else like that. You know, so definitely go watch that. It's really good. It's a really good.
I'm gonna watch it. The show Grotesquerie stars Nishi Nash, though. It's
all right.
It's very spooky October kind of fare.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Luna says you got to watch From. It's so good. It's like a sleeper hit, I think, really.
Yeah. So
thanks, Jackie.
Anyone who buys my book, thank you, Justin.
I'm gonna buy it. I'll leave you a review.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna get a physical copy. So next time I see you, you can sign it, brother. No, I'm very impressed. So
thank you.
Good shit.
Tony's super talented.
Tell me what happens.
Thanks so much, Tony.
Yeah.
We have to let him go. Bye, Tony.
Thank you. I'll speak to you later.
We love you. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Stay sexy.
Stay sexy.
We will. Furio's holding it down. Look at Furio. He's staying sexy.
What an outfit. What is
Look at him.
going on there? My God.
He's like-
he doesn't even have his hair pulled back there.
I
And
like
then,
like
Polly's. Is that a wig, by the way, that Polly wears? I'm curious. Like, that
no,
can't be his
it's
hair.
not. It's not. He went bald right before he passed, but yeah, it's his hair.
So I'm sorry, guys. I need to go too.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We're
Yeah, it's
gonna
getting
wrap things
late.
up. Hey, Alicia.
But we
Becks,
should
thank you so much for
Of
coming.
course, thank you for having me. We should do a part, like we barely like scratched the surface.
Yeah, absolutely.
We
can
didn't
do a
even
part
talk
two.
about the ending and
No.
how I
for
will
sure.
I will defend the ending to the death.
Yeah.
No, thank you for the insight. Thank you for the take
Yeah,
on it. And,
we'll have
and-
you back again. Well,
Yeah.
Becks, you're welcome anytime. Of course, you know that.
All right.
Alicia
Thank
says
you.
hi, my lady
Oh,
Becks.
hello, Alicia.
She just got here.
As I'm leaving, but
As you're leaving.
yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
It's so good to
sweetheart.
see
Thank you so much.
everyone.
Bye. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye. So, Justin, it's just you and I.
I'm gonna go get a
Just you
jumpsuit on and try to take some money from some people and see how it works out. Yeah, no, that's a fun conversation. So I mean,
it's so good.
It's a very
It was
deep
really good.
show. It really is. It's the
Yeah.
show that set the. Even though I will still argue the Shield is first, but this is bigger. And I think that we have so much to thank for this show for it. It is a very layered show. That's why I think it's worth the discourse.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how
thought it
much
was
Chase
actually-
hates this.
No, I thought it was a really good conversation. Like I said, I don't have as much to add to it, but I think you guys did a really great job talking about it. And it's one of those, like, I don't know if Prestige TV was used at that time, but
Nope,
I think that's
it made
It's-
that label.
it's made that label. Yeah. So
Like I just watched on so everybody can watch this right now. It's on HBO. It came out last week. I sent it to you, Heidi. It's the documentary from David Chase. And I couldn't believe, 'cause that's where I got a lot of insight from too, from the guy that wrote it. You know, like it's a lot about how he hated his mom and his struggle with that. You know what I mean? So like it's a very interesting, you know. So and all that. So.
AK says she's like she just got off of Only Murders in the Building stream panel, which is such a fun show. I love that show. It's just it's funny because Only Murders in the Building was created by Steve, what's his name? Sorry, help me out.
You have Steve Martin and
Steve Martin and
yeah,
Steve Martin, and he's one of the showrunners, and then he has a co-showrunner, but it's like Martin Short and then
Martin Short, yeah.
But anyway, such a great show. But I this season is in particular is hilarious because they're really making fun of actors. And they're leaning into that, but it's funny because I said to my husband today, Alicia, I'm like, it's so funny that they're making fun of actors when meanwhile the show was created by actors, you know. And I don't know if Steve Martin's co-showrunner is also an actor, but anyway,
isn't Selena Gomez in it?
Selena Gomez, yeah. It's such a fun little show. It's like it's one of those, you know, shows you can watch and you can just turn your brain off.
Yeah, it seems like a fun show.
It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's really campy. They get the best, like, you know, walk-on actors. Like they have this season has Eugene Levy and Meryl Streep and Paul Rudd. Like it's like an all-star cast kind of thing. It's sort of crazy how great that show is. Yeah, Selena, Steve Martin, such great chemistry in the stories, for sure.
Luna asked what my favorite episode is.
Yes.
It would definitely be when Furio first comes over. That's when he agrees to go back to therapy. That's one of my favorites. And then probably when Tony in the 6th season, I liked the earlier seasons a little bit better, but in the 6th season when he busts when he goes in to the restaurant after that, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. Sorry, it's getting late. He said that shit to his daughter. He's like, you know, like, oh, you got a little whipped cream. And then Tony goes to New York and bashes that guy's face and kind of like spins everything off. So yeah, but definitely when Furio comes over, I just love it. I love Tony just letting that like woof go and just being like so happy. And then he tells his therapist, he tells Melfi, he goes, you want to know what I was doing yesterday when you called and asked me to come back? I was sitting in a like parking lot when my guy was like beating some people up for money. You know what I mean? Like he's like bragging about it. Like it's interesting. So Tony is anything but simple. So, but he's also simple.
Yeah. Carl just got here. He said it's funny watching the episodes now. You can see that time has passed. No cell phones, the haircuts, etc. Yeah. It is. It's like a little time capsule, right, Carl? Like,
Tony says, "Turn off those laptops. I don't trust those cookies." One time, you know, because he thinks he's getting
Luna asks, "How about Polly and Christ?" Lost in the Pines.
Obviously one of the most famous episodes, and I'm going to be one of those people that don't rate it as my favorite because I'm going to be like a prude and say because everybody else says it, but obviously it's one of the best. I swear to God, this is something about me and it's so stupid. I hate cold weather in anything that is set in a dreary, snowy area. I tend not to like.
You would hate the latest episode.
Oh, I know.
The True Detectives.
Yeah, it puts if something about like looking at snow because I grew up in Detroit, like Michigan. I don't know. It's lame as fuck as a reason, but and also I'm going to be one of those people that has to like an off. I have to be a douchebag and be like, I like this episode, but it's obviously one of the best episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Justin, you did a top job on the background drop and the videos and everything tonight.
Thank you. There's actually little bits of Tony in the back of that.
Yeah. By the way, Alicia, sorry, I haven't responded to you, but yes, I would love to come and talk to you about the interview with the vampire. So.
Oh yeah, I'm editing that for me. So that's a great show.
But she said we need to do a spooky season things, friends. Yeah, let's do a spooky season. What show should we do for a spooky season?
That's up to you guys.
Alicia, I don't know if you're watching. I keep trying to talk about this, but either From or Grotesquerie, which is on, I think is it FX? But it's Ryan Murphy. Yeah, Grotesquerie. Thank you so much. It's really good. It's with Niecy Nash. And I think there's only like 3 episodes in. I'm trying to get an interview with the costume designer on that. So Justin, do you have anything you want to add before we wrap up tonight?
No, just I'd like to do another one of these. I'd like to get into I mean, it's so much to talk about, and there's just so much fashion. I this was something I really wanted to bring to Heidi. I was working with Tony on a separate project, something for him a few months ago, and me and him just shot the shit about Sopranos when I brought it up to him for so long. So it's I like, especially Tony's from New York, so it's great to have him in. It's great to have Becks. Yeah, it's great to have these different, these different perceptions of things, because not everything is how I see it. So I definitely think that's interesting. And I think that, this Tony Soprano is just such an interesting character. You know what I mean? You can say everything about him, but he's definitely fucking interesting. And he's definitely one of the best done layered characters, and they had the balls to do it. They really questioned when they were going to first have him kill that guy, that in that episode in the first season. And they really, that was new ground. We gotta thank those who came before us for these prestige televisions. So, whatever they call it, they call a salute or whatever. You can tell how Italian I am. I get the last name and nothing else.
So Justin, I don't know if we can get you to watch Grotesquerie, but she says, Alicia says that Meeks and her are watching it. So maybe we can do that.
Yeah, I could watch it.
Alicia, what happened was I had Carlos Rosario on about a month ago. We were talking about Alien Romulus, and he was the costume designer on it.
Was that good?
And he had this what's that, Justin?
Is it good, Romulus?
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. I would highly recommend seeing it if you're an Alien fan. And what's nice about it is if you've never seen Alien, like if you're one of those people who've never seen it, like a young person, you could watch it. It's a standalone movie. It's a new young hot cast. So and they did some really interesting things that had never been done before. So, and I had Roger Christian on a couple of weeks ago talking about his time working on Alien. So that was very cool. But sorry, I digress.
That dude was just around every good movie in the 80s, wasn't
he? Yeah, he did. He worked on it.
Yeah, they're like, get Roger over here.
Yeah. So anyway, what happened was James, who was the concept costume designer on Alien Romulus and also on Shogun. So he has this really nice working relationship with Carlos Rosario, working on Shogun. I said, oh, what are you guys working on next? And he says, I'm working on the show called Grotesquerie. And I said, oh, who's the showrunner on that? And he said, oh, it's Ryan Murphy. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to go check it out. So Ryan Murphy, if some of you know, worked on American Horror Story. So I went and checked it out, and I'm on episode 3, and I messaged him and I said, hey, James, are you able to connect me with the costume designer so we can maybe have a chat about it? I have so many questions. And he said he's going to see what he can do. So I would totally be up to talking about that. Oh, yes, Tom, you have to message me or email me your address so that I can send you the book. And actually, Roger's going to come over tomorrow, and he's going to give me a copy of the book as well that has a foreword by the George Lucas, which is so cool. So he's going to bring me a copy of that. So
he said it rhymes like a toad poem.
What's that?
You've ever heard when he's talking about how everything rhymes? It's just a stupid little quote from him. It's a Tom poem. He says it kind of.
Tom, please message me, okay? Yeah, and Carlos is by the way, I was going to say this, and Carlos, if you're watching this, I doubt you are, but just in case you are, Carlos is the nicest person you could ever meet. I swear to God, he is so sweet and so kind. And also the way he speaks about his team, he's incredibly generous. He always calls out his team. He always says, I wouldn't be me without them. They were fantastic. So, yeah.
Tell a lot about people about how they treat those around them.
Yeah, he's just so lovely, and I honestly think he's going to be a kind of a big deal.
He's already doing a lot of stuff. So
he just won an Emmy for Shogun, which we covered on the channel. Actually,
it wasn't my favorite, but it was really good.
Honestly, everyone on that show pretty much won, except for poor the guy who played the main character.
I wanted to like that show so much, and I agree it's good TV. It just wasn't for me. Sometimes it's just not.
Well, you know what? Everybody doesn't have to like everything.
I get it.
Told you, my favorite are sci-fi. That's all. automatically like sci-fi is always going to be my favorite, but then horror is like my second favorite. And there's going to be things I'm not going to like. Like I'm not going to be crazy about, I don't know, like reality television. Luna liked Shogun.
Eastern Promises.
Yeah, that was an amazing
that
movie.
That is made by the that's the same guy that
David Cronenberg.
But it also did the writer was the guy that wrote Peaky Blinders.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
And of course Viggo Mortensen is in it.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of like
Viggo actually loves working with David Cronenberg.
Like the
And I have
tattoos
to
are all
shout out
legit in
Viggo
that.
Mortensen because at TIFF last year, none of the actors came because of the whole writer strike and the actor strike or what have you. But he showed up for his movie because he had directed it, and he actually even did a Q&A during the movie. So that was super cool.
In Eastern Promises, he fought that guy naked with a knife, and that was badass.
Well,
in the shower.
That's so
Yeah.
fucking cool.
It was cool. It was brutal.
Tom's saying Roger's stream really made my week. I'll never forget it. And the book is the cherry on the cake. Well, would you say if you send me your email or your address, I will send you the book. By the way, Roger, I just learned that this week he's actually 80 years old, and I was like, what the fuck? Roger's 80? Because when I met him, I was like, he seems so young. He's such a young spirit. And I was like, he's the same age pretty much as Joe Biden. And I cannot compute. That does not compute for me. I was like, there's no way that those two people are the same age.
Yeah, like one took a sword and made it a lightsaber, and one just did okay.
Yeah, he looks really good. It's pretty crazy.
Everybody looks bad when they have to run the country, to be fair. You know what I mean?
Is what my neighbor said that. She said, well, he didn't have to run the country.
Yeah, like why we put the most senile people in as presidents, and it's like once we take their driver's license away, we give them a license to be president. It's like,
but
he's 87 years old. I don't know how old he is, but it's like they're 83 years old. They're not going to be good at that job. It should be like 35 to like, it should be like 40 to like 60. There you go.
It was really funny, by the way, when we went to see Viggo's movie, and I'm in the audience. I was like in the third row or something. Like, everyone was super chill when Viggo Mortensen came in. And then this lady in the audience asked a question, and she did not understand the movie. Viggo Mortensen said, okay, well, obviously I haven't done a good job as a director that you think this.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no. She just she didn't get it. She just was like, weird.
Can lead a horse to water. So I will advocate for that because Peaky Blinders is like my favorite show in the world. I don't just wear this hat because I'm bald. That's a big part of it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Peaky Blinders. And I'm somewhat of a historian in that area.
I tried watching it. I just couldn't it didn't grab me like True Blood or something.
It didn't fucking grab you. Okay.
It didn't grab me like there's certain shows that just grab me, and it just didn't grab me. I don't know what it was.
So good. The atmosphere of Birmingham. It's so good.
What is a pinky? Carl is asking, what is a pinky blinder?
A peaky blinder or a pinky blinder is somebody
that
ran races. Blinder. Yeah. Well, the Peaky Blinders are really people that ran races in the night around right after World War II and right after World War I and right before World War I. So they were a street gang in Birmingham, England, and they had razors supposedly tied to that. But more than that, they had they would take on races and stuff like that. There was it was the big mafia stuff over there. It was smaller,
they
but
had
it was
the razors in their caps.
The big thing about really quick about over in Britain, during the time, because they didn't have prohibition in Britain, by the way. Yeah, but what they had was horse racing. So you would try to get a tariff, like a trace or whatever you call it. I can't think of the word right now, but you'd get the bounty on a race, and you'd be able to run the odds. You'd try to get that legitimately, but also you would hustle. So they used to have to call the army in on these races, because all these gangs would be fighting each other. So it was a big deal. Horse racing, stuff like that. Birmingham is a very interesting industrial city, which Robert from Indeed Geek is actually from. This is about a World War I soldier that was a socialist before he went to World War I and comes back and becomes an industrialist. And it's Thomas Shelby, and it's Cillian Murphy that plays him, and he's fucking great.
By the way, does Robert ever say in it?
No, I used to edit all of his audio, and he never does. He says glossier, but that's about it.
Robert is such a gentleman. He's just he's super gentlemanly. Like, I swear to God, I've never heard that guy say an L word about anybody. I've never heard a curse word come out of his mouth.
I've never heard a curse word. I used to edit his audio for his books,
No,
and
super,
never cursed.
a super gentleman. I think he used to be a speechwriter actually for.
Yeah, he did used to work for the government, so yeah.
Yeah,
great guy. Great guy.
He is.
One of the
He's
best.
a total teddy bear. What a sweetheart.
Yeah, when I tell content
Tom
creators
says
that are
this-
asking, for advice about like how to like do well, I say consistency.
Totally, Carl. We're not worthy. Which is, by the way, that's a Canadian thing. We're not worthy.
That's a Wayne's World thing. So
Yeah, it's Mike Myers. He's from Toronto.
People tell me I look like Mike Myers. I appreciate it.
It's funny. My son's friend lives on Mike Myers Way, and it's like this trashy street. Like, it's like the worst street. Like, it's like, wow, Mike Myers must be horrified that this street was named after him. It's in Scarborough, where I live, and it's like there's like there's a whole, like, what do they call those transformer towers?
Really? So like
right next to it, like electrical.
That's shitty. Yeah,
it's like shitty transformer.
It's not underground. It's like
I'm imagining them doing like a ribbon cutting. Oh, Mr. Mike Myers, we've dedicated this street to you. Like, and they bring him there, and he's
like, it's electricity above ground, like in the ghetto. There we go. Like, that's how it is in Detroit. In Detroit, it's above the ground. It's shitty.
Lane. Yeah. So poor Mike Myers. He's from Scarborough. But you know who else is from Scarborough, where I live? Is
it Joe Scarborough from MSNBC?
No, Joe Scarborough's not from Scarborough.
He's got a band, and they're called the Scarborough.
Are you fucking kidding me? Really?
Yeah. Him and Mika get down.
Oh my God, him and Mika got married.
Yeah, dude.
That would be a
cool.
good name for a movie.
He's a cool guy.
Joe Scarborough got married. That would be
good.
No. The Weeknd is from Scarborough.
Oh, and they're a band of some sort, right?
Well, he's a performer. Like he's
I don't get
singer,
what I like their
performer.
music, but I don't know how they get. I know how music's made. I don't understand how they make their.
And then Drake is from Toronto, but we don't like to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I don't care either one way. But I watched Degrassi, so I used to know him when he was the wheelchair kid.
Yeah,
in Degrassi.
he was on Degrassi. That's true. Yeah,
I remember watching when I was a young kid him like behind the scenes of Degrassi. They're like, he likes to rap, and he was rhyming into a microphone. I was like, what a douchebag. And then he showed me though. Showed me.
That Degrassi is actually the second generation. There was
no, I watched the first one too.
Did you really?
I used to watch it. Was it was way before, but I used to watch it. The other one was during my time, but I used to watch the repeats on some Canadian channel. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was CBC. Yeah.
The one guy got HIV, and he said, "Don't fight me, you'll get your blood on me." Yeah, it's like a big. There's a lot of weird 80s plots.
So so that's the claim to fame for Scarborough.
Spike. What is his name? What is the guy's name? He becomes a teacher. Spike. He becomes a teacher.
Spike is a girl.
No, but what's the guy that becomes a teacher? It's the young guy. Snake is a teacher, right? And then what's that douchebag's name? Sorry. That's also like he's the dad of that girl in the new one, but he's like his name's Joey.
I can't remember his Joey.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's funny because the guy who plays Snake is actually married to this girl, Patty, that I worked with, like on a play.
At what point do you not call the teacher Snake?
Well, that's his like nickname.
I know. Joey on there we go.
Yeah,
Joey.
Joey wears the little fedora, and I worked, and the girl who played his girlfriend, I did a play with her as well. So a lot of them do theater as well.
Yeah, that was like their Saved by the Bell. It's pretty cool.
They're Saved by the Bell. Yeah.
The Degrassi Next Generation had a lot of big stars besides Drake. I mean, like they had some pretty successful people.
Yeah. No, I think so. There's a few. There was one guy I think who died though. I think the one guy with the glasses died.
Well, that's tend to happen. That's just a ratio thing. So you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's gonna happen. It's not so bad though. I used to watch. There was a Canadian channel in Detroit that I used to watch all those interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was actually kind of like I'm a bit older than that show, so I didn't really. Oh, you do, Tom? Very cool. No, that's Tom. That's my background is theater, costume and theater. I went to theater school. So anyway, so Justin, we're gonna wrap up here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, we are. We covered the Sopranos. We we dealt with it all. It's all good.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up.
Yeah, if we have to, I feel we got it. No, we should do a follow-up though. And we'll get some more stuff together. I will get some more female outfits together. I will get some more of that. I was so focused on the fellas.
Yes. Yeah, Canadian theater sort of follows the tradition of British theater.
Oh, what? It's superior or some shit?
No, it's just sort of, I don't know.
No, British theater is superior. I get it.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We just follow the British theater. We have, like, everything is in metric.
Yeah, everything is speaking really loudly and expressing really loud as well, because they're in theater. No, though that is true about British actors, that they're more willing to do theater because they came up with it more. So
I think we have, like, in terms of the etiquette and the protocols and stuff like that, I think that's where we follow the British. But Canada is a British colony, so
when you don't have Hollywood, you go to the theater.
It's funny. Oh, it's funny because there's a new movie out about Donald Trump, and I guess he was, like, mad about it, and and blamed, the Hollywood liberal elites. Or
something. Those woke liberal elites.
The funny thing is that it's actually Canadian.
Oh, he didn't know. He doesn't matter.
And the show or the producer of it is like, well, I'm up in Canada and I don't know anything about Hollywood.
And none of that matters, Heidi. It is what he says it is.
When you're up in Canada, we don't have any elite. We don't have anything. We don't have any glamour.
That sounds pretty woke to me, Canada. Sounds pretty woke. Yeah,
it's all very snowy up here. Not at the moment.
I like how Trump owes a bunch of, like, cities and states, like, money for running his campaign there. Like, everybody's like, he's a good businessman. I'm like, he doesn't even pay the places he campaigns. Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but yeah, he's not a great guy.
How did Mar-a-Lago fare in the?
Nobody know. I think Mar-a-Lago is like Oz. Nobody knows exactly where it is in Florida.
Did it like
it's
fare
fine.
well in the hurricane or anything?
It's fucking fine. Yeah. It always is. It's always orange and great and fucking it's Mar-a-Lago first and it's great.
It's so weird because they had, like, all he stacked all the boxes in this one bathroom.
Yeah, probably all the like all the like classified documents. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, but anyways, it does look really great. Thanks, Luna. It's with Jeremy Strong and Stan Sebastian, so it looks really good, actually. Nice. I'm hoping, actually, I saw on Instagram, I'm following the costume designer. I was like, oh, it'd be really fun to talk to the costume designer about that, because it's set in the 80s, I think it's the 80s. And the actress who plays Ivana Trump, she's actually, Sebastian Stan was saying she's actually Eastern European. So
is that where all of his girls come from? What did I get to read the contracts?
Two of them are, because they were saying, like, majority of his children are children of immigrants.
Yeah, well, that does boy talk. I like Melania. I like how she did, like, a cocaine Christmas.
Carl, are you down in Florida? He said the storm wasn't too bad down here. We had worse.
Oh, I'm glad you're okay. Yeah, in North Carolina here,
we
got fucked on the other side of the state. I didn't even know what could happen. I'm not from here, and, like, the whole mountains flooded here. But yeah.
Anytime Toronto gets wet, gets any kind of rain, we have flooding. Like, I don't know. But I'm a little higher up, so I never get it. But yeah, there are areas in my area that get flooding now.
Yeah, I quit Facebook because I saw people were saying that, like, the government was, like, enhancing the hurricanes. I'm like, in global warming, it's like fake. I'm like, I'm gone. I'm done.
They're seeding the clouds.
I go, I'm done. I go, I'm fucking done. I go, I'm just done. Done with it.
Yes, Ivana, don't get angry, get even. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap up, everyone. I really appreciate everyone coming, but yeah, we should do a spooky one. Also, William, who I had on recently to do the tour of his museum and to talk about the House of the Dragon auction. We're gonna do. He actually is getting a bunch of Dr. Seuss costumes for his museum, so we're gonna do like a Christmas or like a holiday tour of his museum. So hopefully you guys will come.
It's gonna have weepits and wumpits and trumpets and lumpets.
It's gonna have he
was a colonel in the world. He was a colonel in the World War II.
Was he? Is that how he got all his rhyming abilities?
That's when you look at D-Day and you see all the wacky, like, things that went on in the beach. That's all him. He's like, yeah, do that. That's a silly little windmill thing. And that's how we beat the Nazis. We went on Dr. Seuss.
Jackie sent the storm to Carl. Per Carl.
Oh no, yeah, don't. Carl, this storm was actually way worse.
Carl, I'm not going to ask you to eat a giant can of pudding.
No. I didn't know, like, the west side of the state I'm in could get so flooded, and it scared the shit out of me. I go, what? Like, I don't think they knew it either, to be fair. because I'm not from here. So yeah,
We have a
usually
client
it's
in
the-
Texas, and I was asking her if they were okay, but I guess it didn't. Nothing touched down there.
yeah, I'm on the coast, and it's
I had to
fucked
look
the
at a
mountains
map.
up.
I was like totally confused. I've been to Tampa Bay, so I was like, oh, I've been there. But in Orlando, but I couldn't figure out what was going on because I guess it came in like a swirl,
Yeah,
you know, and then the eye of the storm, and then so it was really the pulling. Like I guess when it touched down, it only hit certain areas, but
it has to be just the worst to live in Florida. Like I'm not even making jokes. It just has. I don't understand how you people do it. Like I just don't understand it. It's so hard. It has to be so damn hard. It's insane, especially now. So I hope everybody is safe, though. All jokes
yeah, me
aside.
too, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna let everybody goodbye.
Mm.
Gonna say goodbye tonight. Thanks so much for coming, Justin. You want to say anything else before we go?
Yeah. I'd like to thank me for getting everything. No,
We're gonna have
no.
a House of the Dragon video coming out. Justin
Yeah,
and
we got
I.
some juicy
I'm-
House of the Dragon stuff,
Yeah,
and then
I'm
we're at
super
Knights of the
behind,
Seven
but-
Kingdom too. And we're gonna have something coming because there is gonna be trailers, so we got stuff to look forward to. So don't
Yeah,
get too down.
and we might see a show in 2 years. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, we'll get into Night and Seven Kingdoms like within the next 10
Oh,
minutes. It's
that's gonna
happening.
be so fun. That's gonna be
Yeah.
so fun, by the way.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be good no matter what.
Yeah,
Don't you
agreed.
worry about it. All right. Thank
Okay,
you though.
bye,
It
everybody.
was so fun though. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, Justin, for putting this together.
No problem.
Really appreciate it. Okay, bye everybody. Thanks so much. So Jackie and Luna and AK. Who else was here? Tom,
And Carl and Tom and Jackie
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
Who
just
else
Carl.
did we have?
We have Tom, and there's a Tom, and then there's a
Am I missing anybody?
there's other people. And goodbye to everybody. We equally say goodbye, but we're saying more goodbye to the people that we can
Yeah,
see right
Luna was here earlier.
now. Yeah, she gets a special thanks.
Yeah, Luna. And okay, so bye guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care. Bye. I'm ending it.